Hi everybody, and welcome once again to this very special Hobby Time stream. This is one last week of us doing a solo stream, although I'm not quite alone. On this side, you'll hear our good friend, Mr. Bridger. Bridger, how's it going?
What's up, Zach?
We did get our computer back today though, Bridger?
We did, under strange circumstances.
Yeah, that's its own story. But I'm here alone once more today, and we're gonna be painting some Asuryani Rangers, which I'm really excited about. This is a cool unit, and I actually have the new kit here. So if you haven't gotten close-up eyes on them, we can talk about them, and you'll see. And with that, I think we should jump into it. Bridger, you ready?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's get creative, folks. Here you have old Rangers. Actually, in fact, this Ranger right here is very old. I think I heard that this is a Games Day model, and this is actually metal. This is actually like one of my only metal models. I don't really like metal models, but this guy's metal Ranger. And he's pretty cool, crouching. Anyway, old model, old Ranger. A couple fine cast Rangers here, and I'm gonna be repeating this paint scheme here today. So this is what we're doing. But on these new lovely plastic kits, so let's take a look at some of these guys that I built up. Excuse me. Really cool, very flavorful, very cloaky, like a lot more going on. Let me make sure you guys can see the colors, you know, brown on brown. So for now, that's going to change. Cool cloaks. This Ranger has something, I forget what that is, in the new codex. Wire.
It's a satellite dish.
Yeah. So that's going to be fun to paint up, kind of floating. We got binoculars Ranger. We've got Ranger who's actually shooting things. And we've got Ranger. This is a cool touch. I like this one. First of all, I will say one thing about a lot of the new kits is they're very equally male-female, which is newer for this line. And this Ranger here, she has taken her scope off of her gun, which is cool, and is using it to like look through things. Really cool. I actually like this model a lot. With that, we're going to get into it. I'll go through this process. Now, if you guys have seen my video on painting the new Shroud Runner kit, then the process is going to be somewhat similar to the last minute or so of that video, where I'm not painting the bikes anymore, but I'm painting the Rangers riding the bikes. But I do, in that video, kind of go through quick how I do this. So in today's stream, I'm going to take my time a little bit more, and you can see how I do the Ranger camo. And the cool thing is it's going to be the very first thing we do. We're going to do it right now because it's a very airbrush process. So we do it early on. And honestly, if you guys have seen how I paint my Simhan, you'll know that I go through a lot of reds. These Rangers, by contrast, are brown. That's because mostly they are cloaks. So I actually do the cloak brown. What I've done up until now, so folks at home know, is I've used just an airbrush, Citadel Air of what's called XV88, and it's like this ochre color. So that's where we started. My next step that I'm going to jump into right now is Citadel Carrick Stone, also air. So let's do it.
Let's get creative.
Yeah, let's get creative. Bridger, have you played against New Eldar yet? I forget.
I did not New Eldar. I played New Tau, but not New Eldar.
New Tau, yeah.
And man, everybody's all freaking out about Custodes. And they're like, 75% win rate, they're unstoppable. And then the Eldar book came out, and everything in Eldar beats everything in Custodes. So
yeah,
that problem kind of solved itself.
Right before the stream, I'll actually be playing on Tabletop Titans tomorrow against John with my Simhan. And right before the stream, I was making a list up. John was kind of helping me. And I had that similar problem I had when I was making my Tau list, which is like a problem in quotation marks, which is like I was finished making my list, if this makes sense. I was finished making my list, and then I had like 450 points left.
Right.
And you're like, oh, well that's gonna go well for me then. So here we're just doing Carrick Stone. You can see I'm doing fairly Zenithal. The newer models, so good at just keeping I don't know, keeping the recesses dark for us here. So the very first thing we do, I aim to put these colors on the Ranger's cloaks. Oh, how's it looking?
I'm trying to pull manual focus because your hand is really, pulling focus.
I know. I wonder, how did we do it last week? I feel like we had it.
I don't know. I feel like it was this, but the autofocus really doesn't like brown on brown.
Yeah, well, they won't be brown forever, so that's the good news. Okay, one guy down. So as you can see, pretty easy to do. This is, by the way, folks, a splatter color, splatter warning. So whenever you're using any kind of light beiges, tans, whites, yellows, anything like that, your splatter likelihood goes up. And so,
Zach, what do you mean by that?
Well, sometimes when we spray, we get the little speckles and the little splatters that go out. And so whenever we're using a color like this, we want to kind of start by squirting off to the side a little bit and making sure we're not getting too much splatter, or any really. And it just has to do with, you see the tip of my needle here, as we're using a color that is lighter, that must mean it is usually more opaque and more pigments, and so they tend to accumulate here. And then when we shoot air, these little droplets that have started to live on the tip of my airbrush will come out in the form of splatter.
Right.
So that's what we want to avoid. I do stand by my love of Citadel Air in claiming that it is one of the least splatter paints overall, though. So not too common.
Now, Vincent asks, what if they're on a planet where the trees are red? Shouldn't they have red camo? Vincent, trees aren't brown.
Vincent, anything is possible.
We've been over this. Trees are not brown.
Trees are not brown.
So their brown camo is not for trees. It's for maybe dirt, maybe rocks.
Well, actually, let's have a look and see what it is for. Because here's the base. I did my bases already. There's a few of them here. Okay. I actually just came in yesterday and made a ton of bases. And you can see it is literally the same colors on my camo cloak. You can kind of see the camo pattern there. Actually, I think one of the coolest places it came out was on this guy's hood.
Ooh.
So you can see that's what we're going to be going for
very cool.
here today, yeah.
Awesome.
But I guess it is true. Seeing the base kind of helps understand where we're going.
You always need context,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
That is kind of a cool part of doing camo on minis, is you can just use the exact same paints
As
for
your
the
base.
camo and the terrain. And
Not
then
only can you should.
You end up with perfect camo.
To some extent. So there's the splatter I'm talking about. Got a little bit right there. And I'm not too worried about it because I'll just put camo over top of that. There we go. Nice and easy, very simple if you're airbrushing to get the cloak down. This Ranger also going to be a little more work. She's kind of has more of her, she's not as cloaked.
Right.
So we'll have to go in there and do a little more details.
Whose cable is she stealing with that satellite dish?
I know, right? I love the idea that Rangers just steal cable.
That's their job.
That's their job.
The Eldar, it's a dying race. They can't afford to pay for cable.
Or they just like love cable, right? They're like,
They would give anything to have more television channels. Eldar cable isn't good enough for them. They need Gene Stealer cable. They need Space Marine cable. Tau cable. It's just PBS. It's 100 channels
you think
of PBS.
Tau would just be PBS basically?
Yeah, it's 100 channels of PBS.
Yeah, it's just like, it's all like This Old House and just like cooking shows and stuff. Yeah. I guess
I would watch that.
Tau cable.
Tau cable?
Yeah.
Sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I think oh man, lots of splatter. Anyway, there we go. So first layer, first airbrush color done. Pull those guys in here for you guys to see. Gonna clean our airbrush. Bridger, with me super chats?
We do have a couple of super chats
Oh,
here,
fun.
so let's just take a look. This first one here is from Willow. Thanks, Willow. Good evening, Hobby Titans. My Sotar arrived.
Oh, fun.
That's the fine detail airbrush you use.
It's the one I'm using right now.
But I haven't had any time to paint yet. Gonna start some elves with it on the weekend. Any tips or tricks? What does this weird dial on the back do?
Okay, I can show you what the weird dial on the back does. The first tip that I'm gonna toss out to you, Willow, is make sure you keep your airbrush clean. You guys have heard me say this. I'm a broken record with it, but it is really important. And you can see the thing I'm doing right now. I love these like squeeze bottles that have the water that they kind of. It's not just that they supply you with water. It's that they supply you with like a little bit of a power jet stream, not quite a jet level, but you can really squirt it in there, blast it in there. And what I do is I fill it up, and then I do a few dumps. I don't actually fill it up and blast that through, because there's kind of physically hardened paint pieces that I actually don't want to go through my airbrush. And you'll notice today as I'm working, I'm constantly doing a few things in between colors. I'm running a lot of water through, I almost cursed right there. Running a lot of water through, and then all the time. And then the other thing I'm doing is I am constantly doing backflow, which is this. I do the trigger and I keep tapping my finger. Now when you do that, what it's gonna do is shoot paint back up through your airbrush. And so you need to be a little careful. There's a second component you need to do, which is you're gonna take, actually Bridger, can we do the side view here?
Yeah, let's do it.
You'll see what I'm gonna do is you can actually take your little squirter thing and you actually wanna put it in here and occasionally shoot water through behind the trigger. What that's gonna do is any water that has, when I do my backflow this way, any water that has blasted back through the chamber, okay, will then be shot back through out the front. So you really kind of want to go back and forth on this a lot, making sure you're constantly running water through your airbrush. That'll really help keep it clean. Now, you will also need to use cleaner. So cleaning is my big one, Willow, or anyone who's about to get an airbrush. Bridger, one more time if we can do the side view here. Oh my gosh, I feel like the side view.
Do you want to like
No,
slightly adjust it?
I think maybe I need to move a little
Adjust your body?
Yeah, I might need to move. Yeah. Okay. So this right here, this is what Willow's asking about. What does this do? I frankly, Willow, find this not that useful, but you might. What this does is it puts a little blocker as you tighten it. It puts a blocker. So you'll notice now when I go to pull the trigger,
the needle doesn't pull as far back.
The needle will not pull as far back. Okay, and you can push that thing really far forward. I mean, you can lock it there if you need to. Now, some people think that will help you. They think it helps them control like their trigger finger, basically. And it can't. You're gonna have like a more consistent flow. It's not a bad idea. Play around with it. I tend to not use it. If I put it all the way out like this, then I can go all the way back. And I actually don't like the feel of my airbrush going all the way back, Willow. So I kind of keep it like barely visible here. Bridger, sorry, one more time.
So you're not a pedal to the metal kind of a guy, Zach?
Not quite. I keep it right there. So it does hit that thing. I'm constantly hitting that thing. There's something about the way the trigger starts to feel all the way back here. I feel like it's about to it gets a little loose.
It's a little wobbly.
It gets a little wobbly. Yeah.
You start getting knocks in the engine, if you're flaring it too much.
Yeah. So, Willow, it's a feature you might not find that you need. A lot of airbrushes have it and kind of sell it as a big feature. I've never used it as a reason why I would get an airbrush. But you might like it. I know I do have one friend that likes it a lot. I've just never really felt the need for it. Okay, cool. What I'm going to do now in these Rangers is a second airbrush coat, and this is Typhon Ash. This is our kind of final color, and this is also the color of my bases. We were talking about that, right? So this is kind of the main color of their cloak, and then right after this we'll get to do the green. Okay, yay, not same brown anymore, so... Here we go, just getting a little bit on there. Again, another splatter color, so keep an eye on that. Ooh, man, I love these new plastic Rangers. I really do love the new Ranger kit. I don't think it's actually even available for pre-order yet. I think it's only in the Eldritch Omens box currently. But it is a great kit, and it does have a lot of options for heads. I actually made all my foot Rangers
have helmets on?
Have helmets on, and I usually do overall prefer like helmeted models to non-helmeted models. But with some of the Eldar I've been doing, some of the Asuryani I've been doing the non-helmeted ones every now and then.
Very cool.
What do you think, Bridger? Helmeted or non-helmeted?
I think that the way they've done Eldar heads is often very human and not compelling to me as an elf.
I agree with this, yeah.
So I'm not hugely into the old bear heads, but I think that the newer heads are somewhat more elfy. Mm-hmm. So maybe a little better in that regard.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that.
I was doing sort of an art brief. I think it's fine to say this. We're of course coming out with another batch of emotes, so we have to prep our artist with an art brief, being like, hey, here's like a style guide. Like, here's some inspiration for what we want you to do for these emotes, right? Mm-hmm. And so I've been looking at a lot of Warhammer art lately, and there's some really cool, like, even Blood Angels look more elfy than the old Eldar heads.
How do they look more elfy?
They have pointy ears and very sharp cheekbones and...
Oh, really?
Very pale. In some of the art, yeah. Because they're intended to look like vampires. And vampires share a lot of facial features with elves.
I guess so.
Fact.
Now, if you do get splatter, remember that that's fairly wet paint. So you can probably just, you can see I literally just took some off with my finger right there.
Will is very excited about new emotes.
Yeah, new emotes are going to be fun.
They always are. Ooh, that was a big splatter there.
That's a big splatter, but that's okay. It's on a spot that I'm not too worried about. The other thing you can do if you are getting too much splatter, like if I had a lot of these guys to do, what I would probably do now is take my Typhon Ash bottle and take my thinner and put a bunch of thinner in there. Not a bunch, but a little bit thinner. Give it a big shake, kind of dilute the paint down. That's also what's happening. So it means your paint is is not, there's not enough, the liquid to solid ratio is not quite right.
It's too chunky.
Yeah, and that, like we said, that typically happens. You'll see that often happens with very light colored paints, whites, and honestly, it's sort of weird. I find that it tends to happen almost more with this cream color than it does with like true whites. In fact, I would say Typhon Ash, Ubshanti Bone, all of those are just like really common ones to have this problem.
Yeah.
So even more than yellow as well. It seems specifically to be these guys. Okay, cool. Now the other thing you can see, if you are having the splatter thing, you're not loving it, the other thing you can do that I'll sometimes do, I was literally just doing it right now, is you can just start off away and then kind of move the model into your field of spray. Mm-hmm. Because as you can see, the splatter typically happens early on and then stops. So you can kind of make sure things are working well and then move the model. And then watch, if I stop here and start again, it puts some splatter down. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. But fortunately, I am done with these cream colors now. My Rangers are Ranger cloaked up, except for the fun part, which is the camo, and that's what I'm going to get to right now. Now, folks, I'm going to show you guys how to do camo the way I do it, but I will tell you, if you don't have the tools that I'm about to use to do it, that's okay. They're easy. They're really easy to recreate, and I'll show you how to do that.
SS Sheet, can you, real quick, just in chat, tell me what your Discord name is? We'll get to your super chat in a bit, but I will need to be able to find your message, so I will need to know your Discord username. Oh, yeah. Or if you at me in your message, that'll also help.
Fun. Any Bridger, I think I saw a couple other super chats while I swap up my camo situation.
Do you have a couple more super chats here?
Yeah.
Thank you, Matt. Yo, Zach. Some self-control questions for you. How much extra attention do you pay to squad leaders? And how do you establish a quality standard for an army?
Well, the first one I can answer quickly. Almost none. I never do anything special with squad leaders in the painting step. Maybe in the building step, I might. But typically, I feel like most models in the game have done that already, right? Like they've done something. But you know, my two 40K armies are Asuryani and Tau. Tau do nothing, almost nothing different with their squad leaders. And I think that's kind of a design choice that it just fits in with their society a little bit better.
You might put like a decal on the helmet or something.
I might do a decal, you're right. I might do like a decal. I might build it a little bit differently. I might use like for example, my crisis suits, I use the head for the Chaussee, the leader guy that has just one lens on the eye.
Right.
So I've done that, and for cadre for strike teams and breachers, I think I've put like the little knife that comes with them, the bonding knife,
Right.
on some models, and I put a little bit of color, which means they might see a little bit of actual purple paint on the model. For my Tau, which are mostly, you guys have seen them, mostly green, but some purple. For the Asuryani, the squad leaders are either non-existent in the case of non-aspect warriors, or very different looking, right, in the case of an aspect warrior. So I typically let the modeling do the work there. I don't often go in and paint anything special or different, if I'm honest, that way.
And for Sigmar, Ogors, not really much of a difference there.
He has a gun. The squad leader has a gun.
That's it. Yeah.
He's the iron lock pistol thing.
And for undead, they tend not to have squad leaders.
They do. The Bone Reapers that I've been putting together, well, actually, I didn't put any of the little guys together. I had somebody else do that. And they have like a little helmet, but that's it, yeah. Now, your second question was level of detail. What was the second part of the question, Bridger?
How do you establish a quality standard for an army?
Yeah, this is a really great question. And we're actually going through this right now because over the next few months, and really,
Years. Decades even.
No, I really
Forever.
mean like the rest of March and April. Mm-hmm. I'm in the process of painting 3 Sigmar armies, both for the studio and myself. My own ones will be used by the studio, of course, but in each army I want a higher level of detail and quality progressively. Mm-hmm. The first one is, we'll see a little bit later actually, because Bridger kind of helped me with them. And it's the Fire Slayers army. I've posted them in the community. And you guys saw, we kind of did like the nighttime effect trick with a little bit of glow from like lava and magma. So in this particular army, because I was the one painting it, but I also wasn't especially attached to it, wasn't excited about this army. I knew I'd pretty much never be playing it. I figured out ways to make it look finished and well done, but easy, if that makes sense. We're actually going to release a VOD, a video coming out next week, and I'll go through and kind of show you guys how I did that. But to answer that question, I really felt like for the Fire Slayers army, I intentionally did not want to put a lot of detail into it. For the Bone Reapers army that I'm about to start working on, I will put more detail into it. And the Daughters of Cain army will really have a lot of detail into it. So I think for me, what I do is I kind of establish like how am I going to paint this army? Like what styles am I going to use? What's going to happen? What techniques am I going to use? And I kind of go from there. And I typically try to find the lazier I am, meaning the faster I am, frankly. I say, what's 1 or 2 areas where I can touch in and say, all right, like I wasn't only lazy. I didn't only sit down and airbrush this army. There were a few other steps, right? So that's kind of important. So, honestly, what I would do. Sorry, this question was from who? Bridget?
From Matt.
From Matt Baker. Yeah. Honestly, what I would do, Matt, is I would. Whenever you're painting an army, I would ask yourself, why am I painting this army? Am I really excited about this army? Do I want to play this army? Am I going to be adding to this army for the rest of my life? Or am I just trying to get 2,500 points that fit the meta right now, or fit the latest release, or my buddy wants to run a crusade, and I'm going to start with 500 points, and I'm going to up it up to 2,000 over the course of the next 8 months, and then probably never play it again, or maybe add to it later on. What is your relationship with the army going to be is sort of how I would think about it. I hope that helps. That's sort of a tough question to answer in a way, because I think it's almost like a personal thing. Like,
right.
Like I said, kind of like, yeah, what makes you want to paint that army? Why are you interested in that army? Yeah. Okay, are we ready for some camo?
Let's do it.
Yeah. All right, so let me show you guys how I do this. First, the product I'm using is well, it's sort of funny. It's the plants that are on the bases that I use on the bases. And when you pop the plants off their sheets, you get inverses, of course. And so I basically use these as stencils. And then what I do is I take little components of it. You can see I was just cutting this one. And I just put it here like this. I'm going to airbrush, and that's it. And that really is it. It's that simple. Now, if you're not using these papers, which there's a good chance you're not, you can make your own. And to make my own, honestly, I would take some thick cardstock, and I would use scissors. And you'll actually see I have a number of these different plants. I have this one's called the Musa palm. Okay, these things. I have ferns. But for me, the one that really gives the good camo effect are these, which are called ground palm. Okay, so these ones are, for me, I think the best ones for it. They give kind of that grassy, spiky look. And if I didn't have these, I genuinely would not even use any of the other ones. I would just make my own, really, by just doing this. I would just cut my own out like this. And we've actually done this before. We did this on, when we made vinyl ones when Brett and I were doing Crute tents. So we used vinyl and cut them all out. I wouldn't use vinyl on these little Rangers. They're too small. The vinyl's you're not gonna really get much out of it. I'd literally take an index card and just cut the grass. And if you want to, you can try and play around with like having them be angled. I can even use these guys. I'll even use this one I'm doing right now. I'll start right away by using it on one of my Rangers. Okay, you can make something like that, have it be kind of angled. Very easy.
That looks like grass to me, Zach.
Yeah, very easy to do that. Okay, so then what I'll do, cut it like that. This was not actually, I just did this cut right here like this. Not the smartest cut. I should have given maybe a little more space over here so I don't get anything. So I have to be kind of careful with that. That was on me. Bridger, stay in this view 1 second.
It's a great place to put your thumbs, Zach.
It is a great place to put my thumb. Sorry, I just need to grab a dark green, which I have somewhere here in my somewhere.
Somewhere in your somewhere.
Somewhere.
You have a dark green?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I have so many different greens back here.
Well, why are you doing that?
Yes, another question, please.
Thanks, Cobra. Hey, Titans. The U.S. Postal Service tracking indicates that John's package was left at the front door. Have you seen it? Now back to the painting. Yes, Cobra, we did get it. Thank you very much. And I did peek inside. I was curious. Don't worry, I won't spoil it for John.
We won't. Yeah.
I won't tell him. I'm pretty excited to see how he responds tomorrow when we give it to him.
Yeah. Do I remember what it was? No, you didn't.
I didn't tell you what it was.
You didn't show me. No, okay.
You're going to be surprised too.
I want to be surprised. Okay, so here we go. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this thing and hold it, and you do have to hold both the model and your stencil like this, which means you might have to do what I'm about to do, which is show off a little bit of, not that I have much, but show off a little bit of ambidexterity and do maybe a left-handed airbrushing, which is fine. So here we go. This goes here. Like this. Okay. I'm going to hold it like this. And the cool thing is you really will get very simple results, very easy results. You don't have to press it hard up against it. Okay, all you have to do is this. You can see I barely have it pressed up there against it at all, and there we go.
Look at that.
It's like that easy.
It's grass.
It comes out very easy if you use, like I said, not even pressed up. So I'll do another one here with this one I made, holding this with my right hand. And we will do...
I can't believe you can airbrush with your left hand.
I don't love it. I'm actually going to flip here. No, actually, this will work. But it kind of works. Okay, so here we go.
Don't try this at home, kids. It's very dangerous.
You can try it at home. You can also keep it down on the ground. Nice and easy. There we go.
Look at that sneaky boy.
Yeah. So, by the way, what I'm doing, I pick a few dark greens, or start with a dark green, and we just go up to a few different lighter greens. Is that? Actually, I really like the homemade one I made, if I'm honest. It's really nice. But I won't use it on all of them, so there's that. I also have this one off to the side, This was the one I made right here, and here's the other one. So I'll use this one as well. A little bit down there. I also do their gloves, I think. Yep, I do their gloves. So I want to make sure I get a few things on some of the gloves as well.
That seems challenging.
Well, keep in mind, a lot of this model, this is a very early stage in the model. We have to do a lot of brush work and do a lot of cleanup. Mm-hmm. That's what most of painting my Rangers is. We kind of go through with the airbrush, do our thing, and then we spend a long time doing some cleanup. So it doesn't really matter if we get the camo look at a place where we don't want it, because we have a lot.
Because you're going to paint over it.
Yep, exactly.
That's cool.
I'm pretty happy with that one.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah. So the grass thing, super easy, very fun. Very cheap, very easy to make. And it goes a long way. And a cool first a cool kind of like early thing to try out maybe with your airbrush. If you have the need for camo. Because it is easy and you get to do something that you're not going to get to do with a non-airbrush. Okay, let me just real quick see if there's any place else I want this dark green, because I am almost done with it now and ready to move on to my next green. I'm going to put some, this is the very first Ranger I did, showing off the grass, so I am going to put some more dark green right there. Yeah, look at that.
You know what it reminds me of, Zach?
What's that?
The ferns in Mexico.
Ferns in Mexico?
Yeah, they have shrubbery just like that.
Oh, that's cool.
At least at the resorts. I haven't really.
Gonna do a quick cleaning here before I move on to the next color, which we're just going up. Like I actually don't detail typically. Worry about some of the middle colors. I do worry about the first and the last color. So for my first color, I used Caliban green, or Lupercal green, sorry. Lupercal green. And then for my last color, I always use Moot green. But I typically try to fit like a dollar kind of muted green in there somewhere. This, or like I have Alga green from AK I'm gonna use. I have Fresh Grass from Minotaur that I'm also gonna use. So I find that the dark one and the light one are the ones that matter the most. Kind of the middle ones, I usually do two different middle ones. Not like super vital that you keep them the same. But, you know, it's not a bad idea to do things the same way over and over again for your army. Give it that consistency. Okay, back to second layer of grasses here. Do I want the inside of the cloak camoed? I don't think I normally do that, so we're gonna say no. Which means back to this first Ranger. Okay, helpful here to kind of prop this Ranger up a little bit while I work. So there's that. Prop up right there. And we'll do a little bit of grass here. Yeah, fun.
Ooh, I like the layering.
Layering's big. If you just do one color, it's okay, but I think the layering is kind of what makes it like a thing. Okay, boom, boom, boom. And again, don't worry if you get grass places where it's not going to be, because we have a lot more work to do in this model. And the grass is kind of like the last step, really. Or excuse me, the first step, and the cleanup is...
Right, this is kind of like the low stakes step, but everything after this ends up being a little bit higher stakes.
That's right. And also I think this is, yeah, I don't know, it's kind of a fun, it's a fun step, and it kind of helps define the Ranger's cloak a little bit. In the front here, so she's got a lot going on in the front. She's got the gun, she's got her amulet, she's got her arm across the gun. But if I just sort of like hit this area with green, that's okay. I know that a lot of it's, like I said, gonna get painted over, but the part of the cloak there now that's gonna stay green is gonna stay green, which is good because we want the camouflage to be kind of all over the place. Ooh, this is one I like a lot. Don't want to mess this up.
Right, it would be a little conspicuous if the camouflage all stopped near body armor and the gun.
Right, go ahead and get like overspray. Totally cool, yeah.
Very cool. Well, we do have another super chat here from SS She.
Oh yeah,
and they
the
say,
list, right?
First time, long time. You know the deal.
Fun. Good to hear from you.
And then they have a list here.
Oh, a list. We
An
rarely
Eldar
get
list.
lists on Hobby Titans, but that's fun.
Well, you know, sometimes your guest brings in lists. Well, so here we'll see what you think of this list in a sec.
Okay, we're gonna have to tag team this.
No, it's an Eldar list.
Okay.
I have faith in you.
Okay.
So it's Ultway.
Okay.
We have 2 Farseers on jet bike. We have Carandaras.
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 Scorpion.
No, but it's spelled in the funny way, so you gotta
okay.
respect the funny spelling. We have 3x5 Rangers.
Okay.
20 Guardians. Mm-hmm. This is a unit that I know you're fond of.
I do love my 20 Guardian block.
We have 2 5-man Dire Avenger squads, 2 5-man Banshees, 5 Striking Scorpions. We have a Warlock, 2 Wave Serpents with Bright Lance, 5 Swooping Hawks, 5 Warp Spiders, and 9 Wind Riders with Shuriken Cannons. You know, we were just talking about almost all of these things.
We were.
Not 2 hours ago.
It's not that dissimilar from a list I'm going to be playing tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not true. Some similarities and some not similarities. Some repeated elements here.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start the bikes. Bridger, we were talking about the bikes.
Mm-hmm.
The bikes, John, Adrian and I have been talking about the bikes a lot too, the Wind Riders.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the Shuriken Cannon is, I'm going to say, I actually think it might be the gun I'm least excited about on the Wind Riders. I personally am more excited because it's 10 points.
Right.
And it turns them into 30 points.
Mm-hmm.
What Bridger and I were talking about is that with the Shuriken Catapult, which is what they come with stock,
For free.
this model costs 20 points per model, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Bridger was like, and I was going through its stats, and Bridger was like, wait, how's that not just a better intercessor
Right.
for the same points? Right?
Because if you really break it down, it's an intercessor that moves like 4 times as fast,
Yep.
shoots twice as many shots,
Yep.
just doesn't have OPSEC.
Just doesn't have OPSEC. A couple other cool things about the Shuriken Cannon, or Shuriken Catapult. They reroll 1s when they're targeting something on an objective, but only with that gun. So you actually lose that ability if you take the Shuriken Cannon or the Scatter Laser. And then I'll say that the Shuriken Cannon, the problem with the Shuriken Cannon, it kind of has this classic problem. Bridger, you and I have talked about this before when I was telling you how much I want Pathfinders with their special weapons to work.
Right.
And you were saying that, like, look, what they've done is they've taken the model, they've taken the gun, it's a cool gun, it goes all over the army, there's a lot of places you can find this gun, and they've put it on one of the most fragile chassis.
Right.
And they've charged you the normal price for the gun.
Right.
So the problem with the Shuriken Cannon SS, I think, is that it takes the price of the Wind Rider from 20 to 30. It does seem to be a cool gun, but I want you to consider this. Imagine the Shuriken Cannon. It's 18 inches now, 4 shots. The Wind Riders can move 22, that's with their advance, and still shoot. They can't then battle focus. 22, and they can shoot. And if they're trying to clear somebody off an objective to deprive your opponent of some primary points the next turn, I think they're good. I think they're scary.
They seem pretty good.
That is the equivalent of, we want to talk about indirect fire? That's indirect fire. They have fly, they move 22 inches and shoot 18. AP1, 6s are AP3.
There's really nowhere to hide.
There's nowhere to hide. Anyone trying to cap an objective with like 10 neophytes, what else do we play against? Anything, right? 10 cultists, anybody trying to hide and cap a little objective is gone.
Yeah.
By the way, you can also, sorry, Bridger.
No, go ahead.
But you can also just move 16 and still battle focus.
Right. You can move 16, shoot, and then hide.
And there's a strat for max battle focus, right?
That I don't know.
That strat is only on Outcasts. So that's on Shroud Runners and Rangers have that strat. So I like your list. The big thing I would say, SS, right, Bridger, or something?
Yep, yeah.
The big thing I would say is save points there. You're going to save, how many do they have? 9?
They have a 9-man squad.
That's 90 points.
Yeah.
That I would actually, what I would do if you had the models, you might not because they come in boxes of 3s, take 2 5-man squads. But even your 9-man squad with Shuriken Catapults, what is that? That's 36 shots, right?
It's too many shots.
36 shots, hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s if you're cleaning an objective off. It's scary.
And you know what I would do with those 90 points, Zach?
Oh my gosh, you can do a lot of stuff in this book with 90 points.
Oh, you certainly can.
What would you do? What would you do?
And this might also be a model limitation, but
Yeah,
we have
of
a
course.
lot of 5-man squads here of things that are either fast or deep strike. We have scorpions, we have swooping hawks, we have warp
Oh,
spiders.
you bump some of them up?
I would bump all these up to 6s so that they can do research
R&D.
and development
Yeah.
and never fail, right? Because they changed, sorry, it's not really called research and development. It's called
R&D.
research Knockmoon
Retrieve
data.
Knockmoon data.
But you have if you roll a 6, you fail when you only have a 5-man squad and they're not
Yeah.
troops. And you don't ever want to fail actions. That's just a feel bad.
That's bad business.
So I would bump each of those up to 6-man squads.
Okay, I like that.
Another comment I would make
on the striking.
on the scorpions,
especially.
swooping hawks, warp spiders, all of them.
That's right.
I mean, scorpions are amazing. Like you're getting your points there. When every scorpion you buy, it's worth it.
Yeah.
The mortal wounds in combat is just absurd. And then one final adjustment I would make is 2 5-mans of Dire Avengers. Dire
one.
Avengers are out to avenge.
You want to take 110?
You want a big squad.
I think 110 too.
And then when you take any casualties, they double shoot.
Yeah, you can take that thing. Yeah, I
quite
like,
good.
for whatever reason, what I'm going to be trying tomorrow is a 10-man. That is mega shooty, because Dire Avengers are mega shooty. But then I'm building, actually, I'm going to be taking Sime Han, which is kind of the melee guys. And I'm going to be looking to have a kind of a mean melee Exarch in there. And they're a little bit of a delivery method for him, right? They're kind of scary and nasty. They can do a lot of scary shooting. I think I'm going to have mine in a Wave Serpent. And when they hop out, they're going to shoot something. And then when they charge, he's in there, the Exarch. So yeah, I kind of do like the larger Dire Avenger squad. It's a scary gun. It's strength 4 AP 2.
Yeah.
3 shots. 18 inch. Yeah, it's a scary gun, actually. I agree. I would go up to 10 on the Dire Avengers.
Yeah.
So 10 on the Dire Avengers for me, and not in love with the Shuriken Cannons. Tomorrow I'm going to take 5 with catapults and 5 with scatter lasers. This also keeps them cheap. Scatter lasers no AP, but they can shoot across the entire board, so they can do funky and fun and useful things in my backfield while still kind of contributing to the game by shooting 36 inches. So
And it's also just more shots, higher strength.
more shots.
Can be
Same
more threatening.
strength as the cannon. But yeah, you're
Cannon
right.
strength 6?
The cannon is strength 6, yeah. Same strength as the cannon, but Bridger, you're right. 6 shots each. No AP, 1 damage, so there's that. But I think that for me, I don't know. There's just the scatter laser. Look, also that's I weirdly when I built my bikes back in about a year ago is when I started my Sime Han army, and I did all the bikes first. I was like, you know what? I magnetized all the guns. And I said, I'm going to make some catapult guys just because they're cheaper and it could be fun and, whatever. The catapult can be scary, like in mass numbers. So I happened to make 5, so that's what I currently have painted. If I didn't, I honestly would probably take not the scatter laser guys either. But I think they'll be fun. We'll see what they do.
I think the time for scatter lasers has come and gone.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Like other weapons, it's kind of it's an ebb and flow with 40K game design
Yeah.
where, weapons come and go.
Here's what you will say about scatter lasers. They're strength 6. That means they wound things that are T3 on 2. That means all the little things everybody has running around to cheaply score points that usually don't have armor better than a 5 anyway. These guys are just going to pick them up for you, right? So I like that. Like you have this one unit that its movement is good and its range is good, that they will always get wherever they need to be to pick up that like little unit of Repentia or whatever, right? That's like capping that ran onto an objective. Like, so they tend to want to shoot things that have low toughness and no armor anyway.
Right.
And they will pick those units up because they're going to be sending 30 shots or however an insane number of shots into them. Okay. Last here we can zoom in here. Let's see how
cool
these guys
camo.
look so far.
I can't even see them. Where'd they go?
Yeah, I don't know why I love the spiky grass camo look. Very fun. Okay, so now we use what is my favorite. This might be the favorite green in Titan Studio. Moot green. Let's do it. You got to end with moot green because that's just moot green. That's the way it's going to be with moot green. You know, you don't bury
just a good color.
You don't bury moot green in a medley of greens. It's just not a green that plays that way. You know,
It has to be at the forefront.
it's a soprano. Yeah.
It's the king of all greens.
Here we go.
Look at that beautiful moot green.
Yeah, moot green. Okay, really nice. Love the moot green. Let's get some moot green on the glove. Again, I'm spraying kind of into everything. Doesn't matter. I'm going to be covering a lot of that up. Oh yeah, it's going to look great. There we go. We're going to put here, we've got like this swath of darkness around the bottom of his cloak. Sorry, I feel like I'm back in Maryland checking the gender of a blue crab
Whoa.
with these Rangers.
All right, Zach.
No,
It's a family show.
it's a family. I guess that's true.
We don't check the gender of our models, all right?
Look at that green on the bottom. Super cool. The moot green. It's actually kind of wet right now, but when it dries, it adds a lot of color. Really fun. Cool. We need some green here. Ooh, moot green needs to be up at the top here as well.
Well, I'll tell you what, Zach.
Yes.
We do have kind of a lot of super chats, so I'm
Okay, that's fun.
gonna try to keep us on the super chat train. Keep
like
us
it.
rolling here. Thank you, Octavius. My last super chat was about how I'm new to the hobby. I bought a compressor for my Neo, turned it on, and it smelled like burning and began to smoke. Is it faulty? If so, what compressor should I get? Thank you.
I think it's probably faulty. I'm not being like a jerk and being sarcastic, but I think probably it is. When you just said the burning smell, I was like maybe not, because frankly I smell that as well sometimes on ours, and that can be like dust settling, or
Sure.
if Bridger, I know you're from somewhere cold. If you ever turn like an electric heater on,
Yeah.
and there's been dust accumulating like all summer, and it will like burn that off. But the smoking part is what would make me think maybe it is faulty. So I would definitely aim to get your money back on that. As far as what compressor you should get, this is always a little bit of a funky question, but I can tell you that there's a link on this video at the bottom that shows the exact compressors we use. Now, the problem with that compressor, I think Bridger, you might remember the name for this. I know Brett does. What do we call it when, like, is a white label when Amazon like takes?
Right, when they're all really the same product with a different name on them.
Right. So there is a compressor that happens with on Amazon, and we use that one. And by we, I mean like everybody I know.
I'm not convinced more than one company manufactures compressors at this point, because every compressor I've ever seen
It's that compressor.
is the exact same compressor.
Yeah. So there's a link to it. There is a link to it at the bottom of our show notes. So check that out. We have two of them in here. I have one at home. I've gone through different variations of them. I actually happen to know that the one in the link on the show notes, as long as that link is still good. Bridger, maybe, I don't know if you can check it. I
can check it.
Yeah, if you can check it. Actually, yeah, let's check it and pull it up, because I'm kind of curious. But I do know that if this link works, it's like blue. It's got like a blue top. This is the one I've been using all over the place. And we have two here. I have one at home. Yep, that's it.
That's
so
it.
This guy I stand by. I've got two of them. There's one at home. You can find one that is has like a silver top, like a gray top, instead of that blue top. And that one is a little cheaper, but I can't remember.
I noticed you linked the deluxe package.
I did link the deluxe package, which I highly recommend. Yeah, it kind of has everything you need. Good luck, and yeah, sorry you got a faulty compressor. The first time I got my airbrush stuff, I spent the better part of like a month after acquiring all my materials, making sure that everything worked, and I had all these different like adapters I had to get. It was a nightmare. I kept trying to airbrush and like, cool, there's no way to get the hose to connect to the airbrush. Just crazy, just kind of a nightmare. So, but once you get set up, it's gonna be super worth it. Good luck.
And I wouldn't mess around. If you smell burning at all, I probably wouldn't. I wouldn't mess around with it. I would just send it back. 'Cause
Yeah, no,
it could
no.
be an electrical fire. It could be if there's not enough oil in there. Could be a friction fire. There could be all kinds of bad things that happen inside a compressor. I wouldn't.
Yeah,
Wouldn't
there's
play around
no
with
reason
that.
to. Like I said, if it's just the burning, I'd be like, just keep an eye on it and see what happens. But the smoking, no, that shouldn't happen.
Yeah. The compressors shouldn't smoke.
Folks, I'm using the camouflage plastic putty. Not for, AK actually, Bridger, if we get a zoom on this real quick, AK actually sort of imagines you'll use this to create like World War II camo pattern. Ironically, I'm doing camo. That's not what I use it for. I'm just using it to mask because my Rangers have white helmets. Okay, here's a finished dude. My Rangers have white helmets, and some of these Rangers have most of their helmets showing. And look, I just know that if I airbrush a helmet, it's going to come out way better than if I don't airbrush.
Especially with the white.
With white, that's the point. Yeah, exactly. So I will be masking off the cloak and painting this helmet white, and I don't need to mask too bad. The Sotar is a small airbrush. My aim, I've had practice with my aim on it, so I should be okay. But I am going to put just a little bit around there so I can knock out these helmets real quick. Keep in mind, you're always thinking about like how are you spending your time, right? So sometimes people want to avoid things like this, like masking, because like that's going to take too long. Well, why am I masking? I'm masking so that I don't have to put 6 coats, which probably is the right number, not an exaggeration, maybe 5, of white on this Ranger's helmet, right? I think that's probably going to take longer.
Yeah, no, masking exists as a shortcut, as a way to speed things up.
And
People
it is
wouldn't
annoying.
mask if it didn't speed things up.
Exactly. It ultimately speeds things up.
Oh, Octavius, glad to hear that you did buy essentially the exact same compressor. If you just send it back to Amazon, they don't even ask questions anymore. They'll just refund you.
They probably don't even want you to send it back,
They almost definitely don't want you to send it back.
which means you probably have like a bunch of air compressor parts.
Yeah. We do have several more here. Thanks, Hamsterdam. Hey,
Amsterdam.
I got a bunch of Harlequin models from my friend that superglued pennies to the base bottoms. I like to magnetize bases for storage and carrying. How would I fix it? Everything is gray plastic right now.
I'm trying to think what's happening here.
So they superglued, their friend sold
Underneath?
them some gray plastic
Yeah.
with pennies superglued to the bottom of the bases.
Oh, underneath. Okay.
And he wants to be able to magnetize his models without the penny problem. So he has to remove the pennies. How does he remove the pennies? Well, hopefully your friend used plastic glue.
No,
You might want to ask them.
no, they didn't use plastic glue because that wouldn't work.
No, I mean for the model.
Oh, for the model.
Because
yeah.
what I'm about to propose, if they use super glue for the model,
Uh-huh.
might cause some problems, right? If you
I see.
make sure they used plastic glue for the model, and then you put the model in the freezer, and you freeze the super glue, then you should just be able to pop the pennies right off.
Yep. Maybe.
But if they use super glue, you also might just shatter the model. So
Yep. So that's great advice, actually. I like that, Bridger. What I was going to say is, and this is almost Amsterdam. This is almost not trying to be insulting, but have you actually tried to just get something like a file, something kind of flat in, and just pry them off and see if that works? You probably have. I'm guessing that was the first thing you tried. And Bridger's idea also could be good. They do make what they call like super glue eraser. We actually have some back here. AK makes some. I don't know how well that breaks up existing super glue that is doing its job. What I know that it does is it kind of gets rid of like this super glue residue. So that could also be something you would try. So I would Bridger's technique is if they are, as he mentions, if the rest of the model is plastic glued, Bridger's technique is probably the Occam's razor here, right? Like very easy to just put them in the freezer for a little bit and knock that out. That's what I would do, I think. And then I would try the, it's called eraser. It's called, what's the name of the type of glue that super glue is, Bridger? Somebody in chat.
cyanoacrylate?
That's it. Cyanoacrylate eraser is basically what this product is. We'll try
Yeah, it's
that.
like the, there's a name, solvent. It's the solvent for this adhesive.
Yep.
Chemistry.
Yeah, chemistry. Chemistry.
It's been a
so
long time.
first try physics, then try chemistry. All right, here we go. Ranger helmets. This is going to go so fast.
Blink and you'll miss it. Oh, Zach, I missed it. Can you do it again?
Ranger helmet 1. Yeah, we've got this guy I'm not going to do. I'm going to have to... you know what?
Oh, he's going for it.
Yeah, that's good enough.
Look at that. Sotar does magic.
Okay, and then this nice and easy. That's good. I mean, the face plate of the Rangers is actually going to be Cantor blue, but the blue will go over the white nice and easily. And so this Hood Ranger I just did here, the blue will mostly be what we see, but still, there was some white, so why not? I like to leave the back part of the cone darker like that, you see? Mm-hmm. So
it's a shadow.
There we go. There we go. Next one. There's some of that green I was talking about. No worries. Just going to cover that right up. Not worried if I get this on the Ranger's gun or anything like that. Remember, you're always thinking, what have I done? What's finished? Well, what's finished is the cloak. That's where I don't want to get white. And by the way, for what it's worth, getting white on the cloak a little bit, probably not the worst thing in the world. It is white. It's going to highlight. So there we go. Cool, cool. Got to clean my airbrush again. This is really an airbrush cleaning screen.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Because we have lots of great questions to answer, lots of great community members to interface with. So thank you, Perplexing Manticore. Any tips for painting faces? I was painting up Trajan recently and made a mess of his poor little face. Can never get the eyes right. You know what, Perplexing Manticore? That's a common problem. When I painted my Trajan, his face looks awful. But I'm also bad at painting, so maybe Zach has some tips.
Yeah, so human eyes, to do a good job on human eyes, or some kind of human-like creature with eyes that have more than one component, right, is challenging. And so I have very little experience with it, but I've done it a couple times and been okay with it. One of the things that's sort of interesting with the pupils, let's start there and kind of work our way out of the face, because what I am about to say, I believe, is probably the hardest part.
Okay.
A mistake that a lot of people make is they will put them, both of the pupils, kind of in the middle of the eye.
Right.
And it tends to give everyone that like shocked expression. And we've all seen that. We've all seen the Space Marine whose like eyes look like really buggy and like right in the middle. And it's a little counterintuitive, but actually what you want to do is not use black, or usually we don't use like pure black or pure white on the eyes themselves. We want to use, well, what I have done is used like Citadel Air or like Minotaur Air paint, which is kind of thin and translucent. What I literally just did right here, but with a brush, and put white over top of like the skin color, which is whatever the color is, so that the pure white looks insane. Like our eyes actually aren't pure white. They're not. It makes it look insane. So that's a way to get insane look. Number one is use pure white. Another good way to get an insane look is use pure black. So typically you want to use like a dark gray, dark brown, dark blue even, and a white that is maybe like a light, insanely light gray, or even you could try tans, like an insanely light bone color. And then when you paint the pupil, kind of counterintuitively, you want to do one of them first, and then just be really careful with the second one. But what I was going to say, it's very counterintuitive, and you assume it's going to make them look really goofy, but you almost want to make them like ever so slightly cross-eyed, and that weirdly looks correct, as opposed to putting them both like right in the middle. Play around with that. I haven't had a ton of experience with pupils. The rest of the face I can help a little bit more with. Oh, and then here's the final thing I'll say about eyes. Almost no matter what type of eyes you're painting, human, alien, they always benefit from a wash around like the edges, around the bottom. So when I do my Tau eyes, I make them, actually I just do white, and then I put a little dab of like a wash or a contrast paint even to kind of fall in. And then it gives like this natural shading. So eyes really benefit from some kind of wash around like the edges. No pure white, no pure black. Make them slightly cross-eyed, and be prepared to kind of go in with washes around the eyes. And in general, that would be the rest of my advice for faces would be that they love washes. Washes go a long way on faces because they human faces, like think of like a Catachan model, right? They're so wrinkly and like grimacing, orc face as well. It's really where washes, I think, do their best work by just falling into all those recesses. And the final thing I would just say is no matter what, it takes practice. It takes like a lot of practice to get good faces going. Yeah. Good luck. Who was that, Bridger?
That was Perplexing Manticore.
Yeah, thank you, Perplexing Manticore, and good luck. Post results, let us know. If you do post results, like in the hobby criticism thread, and it's going okay, but there's some areas to improve, somebody there, maybe me, will chime in and be like, oh, here's one thing you could try. Everything looks great, but try this one thing. It takes practice, though.
Zach, do you moonlight as a hobby critic on our Discord?
I do go there sometimes, but I don't usually comment on the hobby criticism page other than giving like a thumbs up or something. Yeah.
Well, what's next?
On the Rangers, yeah. So the helmets are done. So here's what we've got. If we look at the existing completed Ranger right here, we can see that I need to start getting, there's really not a lot left. They go pretty fast. So I need to get the Simhan Red starting to be present. And you can see there's a good amount of that. So that's actually what we're going to do next. The gun ultimately ends up being Corvus Black. I'm not going to do the gun yet because I find that when I'm working on these models with the long rifle, the Ranger long rifle, I handle the gun a lot. And so if I paint the gun now, I'm gonna handle some of the paint off of it. So I have the Cantor Blue Mask. I have the Simhan Red, which I've done enough Rangers now to know it pokes through here in the elbow. You can see there. It's on the shoulder plates, which has not changed. It's on the chest, and it's on the tip of the foot there. So I pretty much know where all that is. And I'll kind of show you guys how I do this because it is a little bit different than the rest of my Simhan. I actually jump right in with the first mix color I have. I don't build up, because I'm not airbrushing, I don't build up all of these layers underneath of it. Instead, I just, with a wet palette, am really careful and just kind of jump in right away with, honestly, with the brushwork on them. The space, the amount of spaces that are open at any one time on these models is small. So they benefit here. So it's a good thing to brush work because you don't really set yourself up for getting like streaks or anything like that too much. And then also they're gonna benefit from washes quite a bit. So it's easy brush work let me phrase it that way.
Now, Zach.
Yes.
In that bottle is your custom combination of Simhan Red, yeah?
Yeah, and so this is good call out, Bridger. This is 1 part Evil Sun's Scarlet, 1 part Phalanx Yellow, and 1 part
Oh, are we which?
1 part White
Nobody
Scar.
can read that.
Yeah, no one can read it. 1 part Evil Sun Scarlet, 1 part Phalanx, 1 part White Scar, and then the highlight to that is 1 part Evil Suns, 1 part Phalanx, and 3 parts White Scar.
Ooh.
Yeah. And we're just gonna jump in, do a little bit of brushwork here on my wet palette, and
Now you too can steal Zach's recipe
yeah,
for Simhan.
yeah.
Now, Zach, correct me if I'm wrong. That old Ranger has 6-pack abs on his armor.
It looks like he does, doesn't it?
Why would the stealth operatives need armor plating with 6-pack abs?
I don't know.
Do you think Eldar maybe have like an ego problem?
Sure, of course they do. That's why I love them.
Well, while you're focused and honed in on this detail handwork, I'm gonna hit you with another super chat here.
Okay.
Thanks, Ted. Okay, real talk, Zach. Why would you take such a hurtful stance about names being on the basis of minis? What if they just want to feel special?
My hurtful stance on names being on the basis of minis is that I don't like it.
Yeah.
At
We
all.
got that.
At all. Oh, we're gonna, yeah, maybe.
I'm just gonna go back to autofocus now that we have some color on the models.
Oh, I see.
I
Okay.
think it'll work out.
Yeah,
a little
I
better.
don't like it at all. Real talk. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's just distracting. Now, the joke. What if they want to feel special? Look, feeling special comes from within. If you are like none of us feel special by wearing a shirt with our name on it. We were all told not to do
You
that.
sure?
Have
you tried?
A shirt with your name on it. It's a bold move as an adult. As
Yeah,
a kid,
I think that might feel special.
You're told it's like how you're going to get kidnapped.
What? Wait. Hold on. What?
Yeah, because then like an adult can come up to you and be like, "Oh, hey, Bridger, your mom wanted me to take you home."
Oh, okay.
You never heard that? I was like, "Come on, chat, back me up on that." That was like constantly like a thing when you were a kid. It was like, "Hey guys, don't wear shirts with your name on them because a stranger will come up and be like, "Hey, oh, Bridger, your mom said I should pick you up and take you home, right?"
Yeah, no, Zach, I gotta say, it was never even mentioned at any point in my life until now.
That you
The
shouldn't wear a shirt
concept
with
of
your name
wearing
on-
a shirt with your name on it just really never came up. Because why would it?
Why? Yeah, it's not a normal thing, but you know actually where it comes from is
Shirts with your name on it?
well, it comes I think from like if you're like on a little league team or something like that.
Oh, okay,
Or you're
okay.
in-
Like
you're
a
in some-
jersey.
or
Sure.
yeah, you're in some kind of like group thing, like where you have like either your first or last or maybe both name on it. I think it kind of comes from there.
I'm familiar with the concept of a jersey, but
Sports ball.
really have never
You know sports ball.
really interacted much with jerseys.
Bridger is not a sports ball person.
I'm not. No.
There's no sports. It's just me at the studio.
You follow sports?
I follow some sports ball,
What
yeah.
what sports do you follow?
Well, I do like American football a lot.
Really?
I do.
Wait, who's your team?
Well, for the NFL, since
Wow.
I'm kind of from like Maryland, Pennsylvania area, it's the
It's the Steelers.
Baltimore Ravens. I do like the Steelers, but it's mostly the Ravens.
Okay.
But honestly, I really like college sports ball more
Okay.
because I went to a school that has like a big football team, which is Louisiana State.
Okay.
So yeah, I like some sports ball. I used to like baseball.
Huh.
We have a lot of baseball analogies here at the studio.
Really?
All of our analogies are baseball. Like in general in the U.S., like 9 out of 10 analogies are baseball. Maybe 6 out of 10. A lot.
Seems like a number you made up.
Probably 1 out of 10, but still, that's more than more than most analogies, right? Like that's
Sure.
that's a lot.
Sure.
So I do like baseball, but I think like it's I don't know, the MLB, like they're kind of weird. They always have some scandal or someone's doing steroids or the new thing is the pitchers are spitting on the balls and throwing weird pitches. I don't know. It's a bummer.
They weren't spitting, they were super gluing their
Super
hands
glue,
to the
spitting
ball.
super glue. What type of glue is it called?
Cyanoacrylate?
Yeah, they acrylite, acryliting the balls. You think?
Have you ever watched John Boy Media?
No.
You should. It's like the best parts of sports ball, really just compressed into 3-minute clips. And he's a funny guy. Somebody said once that we were the John Boy Media of 40K.
That sounds
and
good.
I really appreciated that, but it was
Yeah.
totally not true.
Oh, I
because
see.
His format is like super short form, straight to the point, and our format is, I don't know, the exact opposite.
Yeah, I see Wargamer Rye Guy, which is awesome, by the way, Ryan, to hear from you again. We'll have some obviously cool news for you that you might be excited about here shortly. But I'm not like super Ravens fan. I guess I'd say they're kind of my team. I do follow them. They're kind of a mess. This year, honestly, I was really excited for the Bengals because of Joe Burrow, who went to LSU. But I feel like the team's like kind of a mess all the time. So it's a little bit of a bummer.
The
Anyway,
Ravens?
some sports ball. You know, my family is really famous in sports ball. Not really famous.
Yeah? Really
but
famous?
I have like a lacrosse family.
Oh.
Yeah, like my uncle coached John Hopkins lacrosse team, which is like that. They're like John Hopkins is not good at sports ball except for lacrosse. Then
Right.
they're like good at sports ball.
Now, Zach, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I did grow up in the Midwest, where we had the perspective that lacrosse is a bougie sport for rich people.
I mean, my
Is that the
family's
case?
not especially rich. I think we're probably standardly middle class. In Maryland, it's kind of known as most people in Maryland are Catholic. So in Maryland, I think of it kind of as like a Catholic sport.
Huh. I
It was
wasn't
like
aware that was a concept.
Yeah, so like it has to do with like it's originally kind of a variation on a Native American sport, but in Maryland, like they were all Catholics who moved there at first, and they like kind of adopted a version of this Native American sport. So I don't know exactly where it comes from, but I didn't play, by the way. I used to just throw the lacrosse ball around. Almost everybody else in my family got to be in a league, but by the time I was old enough, my parents were like, yeah, it's too far to drive.
They were kind of over it at that
Yeah,
point?
they were over. They were over like any of that kind of stuff.
The concept of lacrosse had kind of just come and gone.
Yeah, they were like, oh, it turns out this kid will just sit and like read Warhammer books and play games and paint models. So we'll just let him do that. It requires no driving.
Right,
on
it
our
was
behalf.
cheaper and less
no
time
driving.
consuming.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
smart parents.
I guess so. If you say so. No, I'm just kidding. I love my parents, of course. Why were we talking about sports ball?
Well, this all originated with Ted sort of berating you for telling Meg that she couldn't put the names of her models on their base.
Oh, and then I was saying, which I hope Jack backed me up on, I was saying that you really shouldn't wear shirts with your names on them as a kid.
Yeah, definitely a road we should go back down.
Because you'll get kidnapped. But as an adult, it's a power move. And I will say that I wish we had, well, Bridger, you kind of have like a 9-to-5 gig. I wish I had like a, because if I wore a shirt that just said Zach on it and came here, it like Adrian would see it and be like, what are you doing? And then later John would come and be like, cool, shirt with a name on it. And that would be it, right? But it'd be cool to like work at like a 9-to-5 office job and like wear a shirt with your name on it.
Wow, there's a lot to unpack there, Zach.
When Bridger, if you go back to the office, will you wear a shirt that says Bridger?
I've never worn a jersey of any kind.
Not a jersey. I'm talking like a T-shirt that just says Bridger on it.
Just like across the front?
Yeah.
Why? But why?
Well, why would you paint the names of your models on the rims of your bases? Everyone, come full circle. Silly.
Because the base isn't a real. In universe, the base isn't a real thing. The base is not. The model doesn't know the base exists.
In the real world,
Yeah.
does your body know the shirt with your name on it exists? And is it the same thing at all?
Yes.
Well,
Look, Meg, I don't think there's anything wrong with putting names on bases. I've seen plenty of people do some cool stuff, especially with like knights. If your army doesn't have many models, like the Gargants, I think we could have put.
She has 40 Soulblight Gravelord wolves and then 1 million skeletons.
I think it would have been cool to put names on, because we did name all the Gargants. I think we could have put their names on their bases, and I wouldn't have had any problem with that. I think knights, it's similarly cool. Your characters, let's say Old Dusty. We do have names for mouth hands. We do have several characters that we have names for. It could be arranged, Zach. We could put names on their bases.
I know. I just think it looks cluttered. And listen, if you guys really want to know my honest, truthful answer, is I think it just looks a little bit cluttered, and not in like a cool like Lisa Frank kind of a way, which I would be into.
Now, what does that mean, Zach?
This guy doesn't.
Who's
this guy
Lisa
doesn't
Frank?
know Lisa Frank. Bridger, just look up Lisa Frank.
Is she in any way related to Anne Frank?
No.
That's the only Frank I
No, I don't think
heard
so.
of.
She is the exact opposite of Anne Frank, in fact.
Whoa, okay, well that's...
In somberness.
Zach, you can't take that back.
I mean like in like somberness level of the story.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Lisa Frank is this stuff, right? Like you would admit that this is a little bit of the opposite of Anne Frank. If such a thing exists.
I probably wouldn't make such a statement either. I wouldn't...
I'm fine. I'm comfortable.
I would decline to...
I'm comfortable with the statement
comment,
I just made.
I think. But, wow, okay.
Yeah. That's clutter in a good way. I think names on bases...
Was that clutter in a good way? Because I was pretty overwhelmed just looking at the Google search results.
No. Lisa Frank is like... That's like peak awesome clutterness.
Yeah?
I think so.
We might have to agree to disagree here, Zach.
This was... Listen, who asked this super chat?
This was Ted.
Ted, thank you for your support. I hope you feel like you got an answer that you wanted. We do try, and I will say, thank you always, of course, for sticking up for my wife. I certainly am not. Listen, for what it's worth, I said to Megan, listen, you can paint. They're your models. You paint them however you want. I just said, and I think this is fair, that they will be unusable on our stream if they have their names all over them. And guys, again, it's not 5 knights. It's like 40 wolves.
Yeah, but if you do it in a subtle color, like if the base rim is
And why do it at all?
light gray and you write their names in dark gray, like it wouldn't be offensive. It would.
Of course, it's not offensive.
It,
Well, it depends what she names the wolves, I guess. And listen,
Well,
she's got to name 40 wolves.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point.
She's got to name 40 wolves, and this is Megan we're talking about here, so it's going to get offensive. 40 wolves is a lot of dog names.
That's fair. You know what? It's a good point, Zach.
Yeah,
maybe I should switch sides on this.
Do we even know 40 wolves?
Because it might be bad for our brand if we let her name 40 wolves.
Yeah, having to name 40 wolves is always bad for any brand. Someone's not going to be happy.
Well.
Yeah, please. Please.
we have we kind of have a fork in the road here, Zach. We
Okay.
could continue with Super Chats, or we could do the fan coverage. What do you think? You want to do some little...
You know what? I'm enjoying the Super Chats. Let's wait a little bit on fan coverage.
All right.
We like to do that closer to the end.
We'll hit another Super Chat.
Bridger, you're kind of new around here, but we do that
I'm
typically
kinda new around
a little
here.
closer to the end.
But in some ways, I'm also kind of old around here.
Yeah, I think was the original stream you and me? No, it was me and Adrian, I think.
But I produced it, didn't I? I was in the building, certainly, because I remember not being able to leave. I had to be here for every stream for like 2.5 months.
That's right.
I remember
In case
that.
anything went wrong.
Yeah, I was
can I show my favorite Ranger?
on super pager duty. Yeah, your favorite Ranger?
This one's my favorite. She's got like her cloak fully zipped up here in the front.
Now, Zach,
and
you
just like-
did say the one with the scope detached was your favorite.
She's so cool too. Yeah. But I like this one with the cloak like zipped up, just like walking into the fray. Mm-hmm. They're all so good. This one with the binoculars, cool.
They can't all be your favorites, Zach.
The big takeaway from Rangers is I do love the way GW has posed them to mimic how they work in the game, which is that they will never shoot and hurt anything.
Right.
And instead they will just kind of look around. Even this one, I'm sure he's just looking through his scope. He's not actually aiming at anything.
Right. His safety definitely on.
He's like, oh, there's an objective someone's going to have to get on later on in the game. Maybe that's going to be us. Who knows? Probably we're just going to stand here, though.
All right. Well, let's get one more super chat in here. Thank you, Wargamer Rye Guy.
Hey, Rye Guy.
Good evening, gents. Been working with my Badger Patriot a while now, but considering buying another airbrush for cleaner and finer details, especially with OSL, like my Fire Slayers.
Yep.
What are your thoughts? Iowata or Sotar?
Well, keep in mind, so these are both great airbrushes. I like both of these airbrushes tremendously. But keep in mind that the Sotar is finer detailed than the Iwata Eclipse. Mm-hmm. Now, so I would recommend that. And the Iwata, for me, is like we have a couple around here. And I almost never use it because typically I can just either use the Patriot or the Sotar. Mm-hmm. I feel like, Ragai, the Eclipse is a good one if it's the only one you have.
Right. It's kind of like a jack of all trades.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair, Bridger. That's a good way to describe it. So for me, the Iwata is the one I would get if it's the only one I had. Since you already have the Patriot, I would get the Sotar. It's smaller than at least than the Eclipse. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a great airbrush. Honestly, people talk about the Patriot being a workhorse and like you can run anything through it and it's fine. Mm-hmm. That is very true. You can mostly run anything through a Sotar. We do find, and you start to learn exactly what won't work. For example, I know Turbo Dork through a Sotar is going to be a problem. I know that's going to be a problem. I know I have to thin it. I put the thinner directly in the Turbo Dork bottle. I shake it like crazy for like 10 minutes, literally not joking. Like I'll like walk around the apartment shaking this bottle for 10 minutes. But that's about it. Other than that, most stuff goes through the Sotar fine. So that would definitely 100% easily be my recommendation. There's nothing wrong with Iowatas. I think they're great. I just don't think with you already having the Patriot, you need it.
Zach, we got to get you a paint shaker. You can't be walking around your apartment for 10 minutes at a time shaking paint.
Turbo Dork is crazy, man. You have to shake it forever.
We'll get you one of those like pharmacy shakers.
Okay, listen. Let me be honest. I do walk around the apartment while I've done it, or here at the studio, but it's probably not 10 minutes. It's probably like 3. You know what I mean?
Well.
You know, people will round up to
Time is money, Zach. We could be
time is money, but
be spending those 3 minutes more productively.
okay, he's not wrong, folks, and he's looking out for me. So what can I say? Okay, so I'm just doing a little bit of touch up. By the way, you notice that the first couple things I want to say. Speaking of doing things in a weird way, this was all air paint. I used a brush to put this air paint on. It was a red over top of a bone color. It works great. It's fine. The coverage is great. Look at that. Nice and smooth. But I do go in and touch up a few areas if I see that it needs it a little bit. This is the wet palette as well. The wet palette helps my paint stay at a really nice consistency. So just touching up a few areas where I think maybe I was stretching how far I can use Citadel Air over a flat surface, but it's nothing that literally, like I just said, can't be touched up with a couple other layers here. There we go. Cool. Okay. Speaking of layering, we're now going to add our next color. This is the 113, 1 part Evil Sun Scarlet, 1 part Phalanx Yellow, 3 parts White Scar. Ryan, good luck with the Sotar, by the way. And Ryan, we should also mention, if you haven't seen it, we painted up a quick and funky Fire Slayers army for the studio for probably fairly predictable reasons. And so we are really excited for that. Bridger especially. Bridger is going to be our Fire Slayers pilot, right?
You know what I love about Fire Slayers?
What's that?
They're a destruction army under the guise of being an order army.
It's true. I kind of like this about Daughters of Cain. They're like, when we think order, we kind of think good guys, but they're really not. Many of them are not.
Oh, I didn't mean that they're not good guys.
You mean play style.
It's kind of fair that they aren't good guys.
They're barely good guys.
Well, are they good guys in almost any way?
I guess the dwarves are mostly
They're
good.
kind of just a force of nature. Like anything that comes near them underground, they fight to the death. And anything that comes near their mountain, they also fight to the death. They're kind of just animals.
Wow.
They're very angry.
That's true. They're very
To the
angry.
point where the ones that aren't angry all the time are given political positions of power because they're the only people clear-headed enough to make decisions.
That's true. That is, you know what? You're right.
They're really just all around. They're just a destruction faction.
But you mean in play style, which is like run forward and smash things.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's true. They are cool. Actually, AOS is fun for that. It has a lot of, most factions have a faction that is not quite like the others. It's Gloomspite and Destruction, right? Gloomspite is kind of like an order army almost, I feel like. They play play a little funkier. They've got
with their buffs and
yeah, they're almost like a death army. They have like no shooting. They have like some funky mechanics. They've got magic. Yeah, it's fun.
I am really into playing Fire Slayers. I was skeptical before I got them on the table, but then once I saw the playstyle of just like my only limiting factor is can I get to you? That's my favorite limiting factor for armies is like, I'm coming. You know, if I get there, you're in trouble.
Right.
You better go to clean up your room because I'm coming.
Better clean up the room, folks. You heard it here first.
You have to the count of 10.
Yep, I'm going to start counting. And when I get to 10, that room better be clean, or you better be in there cleaning the room.
Exactly.
Maybe the room's not clean at 10, but you're in there. The phone is away. The video game is turned off, and you're cleaning your room.
Exactly.
That's Fire Slayers.
That's Fire Slayers.
That is how they play. That's how people describe them as playing.
They're taking
it serious that you clean your room. There's no
ABC, always be cleaning.
Always be cleaning.
That's what the Fire Slayers say.
Well, the problem is the Fire Slayers bring up a good point, which is that if you just kept it clean to begin with, you wouldn't have to do this.
They're really the most responsible of the destruction factions. I think that's why they're in order.
Oh, I see. It's a responsible destruction faction.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah.
They also, weird thing, child services might get involved. They'll just burn your toys if you don't clean up. They're just, everything that's not put away at the end of the day
They just burn your toys.
goes in the lava. Sorry.
Yeah, we're diving into some interesting topics here. Can child services get involved if you're a parent and you just burn your kids' toys?
I think it could be construed as a traumatic event if it happened repeatedly. Yeah.
Okay, so repeat it is the issue for this one. Once or twice of the burning of a toy may be okay.
You know, Zach, I'm not an expert on this. I don't know for sure, but I think if it were to be traumatic for the child.
Yeah, you know what? That's true. This is actually, the more I think about it, the more sad this actually is to think about. So let's move on. Sorry.
You really pushed.
I pushed that.
You pushed on that one.
I pushed it. We need Adrian. We need an adult in here.
Right,
ASAP.
yeah. Well, tomorrow's going to be...
Tomorrow's going to be a mess. There's no adults.
Tomorrow's going to... Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Kids are running the asylum over here.
Yeah.
It's going to be a fun game, though.
It is. These guys will be in it.
Oh, Rye Guy wants to know, at SoCal, did it seem like he was making you clean your room?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is okay. Like I know that we have to clean our room. I just like, I don't know. I don't need these dwarves telling me, you know? Ryan had kind of the classic open walk towards you and open it up and let Gotrek out kind of a thing.
Right, right.
Man, I hate Gotrek.
You hate Gotrek?
Yeah, but you were telling me that he's not actually a fire slayer. I guess I just assumed
He's
he was.
not. He's just a dwarf. I don't think he's a fire slayer. He predates fire slayers.
He looks
He's
like
from the old world, isn't he? He's
okay.
the oldest dwarf. He's been around. He's been alive for like forever.
But
and
is he like
actively trying to die?
Is he related to the fire slayers?
I mean, he's a dwarf.
Okay.
So, in that way, certainly.
Guys, doing a little bit of shading here with Garlsberg Crimson. And I just kind of put it around a few specific areas on the Rangers. It's not a lot. I sink it into where their like chest is often and sort of around their shoes. Just like literally what we think of as when we think of shading. Now keep in mind, I've done a lot of airbrush work, and typically these two processes sort of are the same. So as opposed to having done like a straight, this brush, as opposed to having done like a straight brush work on this guy, on these Rangers, I've done a lot of shading already with the airbrush, so there's not a ton to do, but there are a few areas that I know look particularly, will benefit from it, and so I just knocked those out. And when you've done enough models in your army, we've all had this experience, you kind of just know where to go. And you're like, cool, gonna shade around the feet, gonna shade around the shoulder pads, gonna shade a little bit in the chest area.
It's like head, shoulder, knees, and toes, right?
Kind of.
That's how you taught me.
I taught you that? I don't think so.
I think so. Yeah. Because you're really the only person whose hobby advice I've ever listened to.
Oh, that's nice.
So I think
Well, actually, maybe that's not nice.
it's nice for you.
I guess. Yeah, I guess it's nice.
So Gotrek is a slayer, not a fire slayer. I think he predates the concept of fire slayers.
I see.
Because he's back from when there were slayers. There was like the slayer part of dwarves.
Like troll slayers and stuff?
Right. There were like the normal dwarves who wore a ton of armor, and then there were the slayers who were like, no, I'm going to go into battle naked. I'm good. Thanks, though.
Well, look, it's one less thing to worry about.
See, in my mind, there's one more thing to worry about. Not having armor seems like a big problem.
I think at that point, though, you're just kind of like, like you're not the type that's going to worry, you know? If where you draw the line on worrying is, do I put clothes on for combat? Then you're just not the type of person that's going to worry.
You're just not a slayer. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this goes pretty quick. We just knocked out a few spots. And believe it or not, we did the fun camo part early on. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot left to do in these Rangers. What we're going to be doing next, which ones have I done? I need to keep track. What we're going to be doing next is the face part of the helmet, which is Cantor blue over white. That will also happen very quickly. Nice dark color over white. And after that, what we're going to do is their guns, which are I do sort of like these. Oh no, I need to get in here more. I have to come back on this one a little bit. The gun I mostly do Corvus black with a little bit of gray highlighting. And wow, that's almost it. There's a couple little pouches and stuff we'll probably do as well.
Very cool. Well, is it that time? Is it fan?
Let's do some fan stuff.
Submission time?
Yeah.
Let's do some fan stuff. Well, this is what I worked on today. I came in early, and I said, Zach, how can I help? What can I do? I had to come in for some other reason. I forget why. Oh, bring the computer in. That's a whole other story. But Zach said, you know what? You can do the weapon highlights on these dwarves. So I did. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, so we'll be releasing a video, honestly, before I see you guys next Wednesday. We'll be releasing a video that shows how we painted these guys. I honestly was inspired to paint these from a fan, and I don't remember the fan's name, but we'll have to look it up. Fans of the show will probably remember what I'm talking about, though. It was the Gene Stealer Cult Army that was painted to make it look like it was nighttime. And they all had like little, like, you know, a lot of those guys have like little floodlights on their shoulders and stuff.
Yep.
And so they illuminated there. And when I saw the army for the very first time, my immediate thought was, you know what, this looks great, and I can tell that they could have done this in a weekend.
Yeah.
And I did paint most of this army. Today's Wednesday. I painted most of this army last Monday and Tuesday. I think we had something like 2,500 points, right? Something like that, right? I don't know. Somewhere around.
I don't actually know.
Yeah, we don't know, but more than 2,000 points already. We know.
Yep.
From the old book anyway.
Might be closer to 3,000.
Yeah, it's a lot, and it painted up fast, and it was fun. So instead of the glow effect coming from a floodlight, I said, well, I want glow effect, but Fire Slayers aren't naturally glowing anywhere, have light, so we basically put a glow effect somewhere and then lined it up. We bought this model, this army assembled, right, Bridger? Or
mostly assembled, yeah.
And the person who had assembled it had glued them all together with plastic glue, and then plastic glued the model to the plastic base. And so I was never getting the models off. So I was like, cool, I don't normally do this, but I have to work on a model that's permanently glued to its base. And I said, well, we can make this a feature. And basically what we did here is we said, we're going to have magma on the base, where that's what's going to be putting up the glowing effect.
Yeah, and they look very cool.
So thank you, and I hope people like them when we get them on the tabletop. It's not something I would always do. I think we were talking about it, Adrian and I was saying, listen, if you're going to do a gimmick army, that's whole purpose is that you paint it like almost 3,000 points in 2 days, and it looks neat and clean. Everybody, I think, who paints in this hobby, I think we all get one of those once a decade.
You get one per decade?
I think one a decade. Listen, I'm going to say that I think one a decade. I think if you're on a streaming channel, you can get away with one every 3 years.
3 years?
What is that too much? Not enough?
I would have done an annual speed paint.
An annual speed paint army?
Yeah.
Well, speed paint is different than this, right? I don't know.
Well, this is like a form of speed paint.
It is a form of speed painting. Yeah, you're right.
I would do something like this once a year as a content creator if I were the kind of creator who wants to paint.
Who painted, right?
Which is not what I
Not
am.
what you-
So it's really
not
your
what you
call,
do.
Zach. If you want to only do this every 3 years, that's up to you.
You know, here's the deal, and I know Rye Guy's in the room, and I don't want to offend him, but I am not in love with Fire Slayers. But they are cool, but it's not an army I was going to be playing, right? And it wasn't like I was like, hey, I'm going to, do this for Bridger. I don't want him to have a nicely painted army. I wanted him to have a nicely painted army, but we're painting 3 armies.
You've already given me multiple very nicely painted armies, Zach.
We're painting like 3 armies in 2 months here, so one of them had to happen in like 2 days.
And it did.
And it did.
And then I dragged it out.
Then that's okay. And that's the cool part about it now is, Bridger's gone ahead and gotten new models. And one thing that's okay is that's fine because we can always just like grab them and be like, cool. It literally takes 6 hours to paint a Magna Droth. Actually, not even.
Not even.
So we're excited. This is an exciting army, I think. in general. And, you know, the army does sort of have this issue of like, you know, Bridget and I were talking, and as we were painting, I was like, you know, it's the Magnadroth, and then it's dudes. We were like, there's no, like, there's the guy with the guns, right? The fire pipes.
They're still just dudes.
They're still just dudes.
It's just Magmadroths and dudes.
And there's no cavalry.
Correct.
There's no artillery piece.
Correct.
There's no, like, larger, like, mutated Fire Slayer dwarf.
No, just...
There's no Fire Slayer dwarf in a war suit.
There's only...
There's only dudes.
Ignoring blister packs, there is the Magmadroth kit, the Berserker kit,
Yep.
like the Volkite Berserker kit, and then the Hearthguard kit, and that's it.
Yeah.
And then there's blister pack characters, and that's the whole army. It's 3 boxes and blister packs.
Yeah, so we sort of thought, I sort of thought, you know what, the army already has like a, I don't want to say that this is a problem, because I think for a lot of people it's a feature of the army, but it has an issue or a feature of being kind of like a sameness type thing. You're sort of like, wow, I'm painting another shirtless dude. And then every now and then you're like, cool, this shirtless dude's riding a dragon.
I mean, you just described ogres, but go on.
Well, no, because like my Beast Claw Raiders have different things they ride. There's a guy on foot. There's cats.
They do have cats.
They have cats. They have different mounts. They have 3 different mounts that they ride on.
Yeah, I don't know. I see Fire Slayers and ogres as being roughly in the same category, or ogres just have that middle calf size thing.
Exactly, but it matters a lot. Listen, in the degree of being shirtless, you're right. They're the same. We can have a skins versus skins battle, Bridger.
Fire Slayers absolutely stomp.
Yeah, players too.
That's not a good game.
It's not
Anyway, we're gonna continue on with this fan stuff.
Yes, thank you, Bridger.
So from
Bridger,
Mytho
keeping
Games
us on
here.
track.
I'm trying to keep this show
cool.
moving.
I love the color of these ultramarines.
Yeah, it's like a baby blue. It's a sky blue.
I love when people. I mean, look, I'll say I love it, and this is what I try to do, right? With Simon, I love when people take like what makes an army famous and just tweak it ever so slightly, where they're still kind of respecting the lore and like where it comes from and stuff, but just putting their own little spin on it ever so slightly. You were going through the fan stuff today while I was doing some painting. This stood out to me as one of my favorite things, if I'm honest, I've ever seen.
Wow.
From fan stuff on Hobby Titans.
Bold praise.
Yeah, just this color scheme and the execution is so well done. I'm also a big fan of this color palette of blue, white, and yellow together. This looks great.
I like when people take something that's like super meta, it's the skew thing, it's like crazy good, and then they just paint it really well.
Yeah, it's like
and
cool.
Like
you deserve it.
Flying in the face of why people do these things.
Exactly. It's like, hey, I want some Volkite Contemptors. So here's some Volkite Contemptors.
And then they look just stunning.
And then they look amazing. Yeah.
All right. Up next here, we have Soups. He did this is I believe a Herald of Slanesh on disc. I believe. Now I'm no demon expert.
I'm no demon expert.
But I believe that is a Slaneshi Herald on disc. And if anybody in chat wants to correct me for my lack of demon knowledge, looks dope.
It definitely looks like it's something taken from like the Chariot kit and stuff.
It's also a very nice table. Now that I'm really absorbing this picture.
Soup's table.
Yeah, I think it's a large glass table there.
We see this table all the time. He takes all of his pictures on this.
It's a nice table.
And I've never really thought about it before, but it is a nice table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of distracts. The nice table kind of distracts from the model.
No, Soups, don't listen to him. No, this looks great. I was literally telling Bridger. Bridger was picking out fan stuff today, and he said like, "What's the criteria?" And I said, "I don't know, whatever you like." And I say, when people put their names on it, I like that. But I was like, we always feature Soups because he's puts his name on it. But also, I will just say that it helps me remember because we like almost always have a Soups because he puts his name on it. And man, boy, like you could just tell like this guy and who's the other one we were seeing? Broken Chef, right? Are another fan of the show. Just like so much improvement in since Hobby Titans has started. It's crazy.
It's really nice to see that, to see improvement over. I wish there were some way we could see that on the gameplay side, where we could see the progress, because it's so tangible, it's so readily available. You can just look at photos over the months of a fan watching the show and see their progress for painting. You can't really do that with playing, but man, that would be so rewarding.
I don't disagree.
But yeah, great job, Soups.
Yeah, really
That's
nice
awesome.
stuff.
And here we go. We have, so this was a feculent gnarl maw.
Oh yeah.
And there was a bunch of pictures, and I chose this one because it kind of showcased the attention to detail that they'd like gone in and painted the nurglings on the gnarl maw. And I like the color scheme here. It's not the standard color scheme. I don't know what the standard, usually there's like a lot of greens in these gnarl maws, and I actually greatly prefer this. It kind of reminds me a bit of like a Dark Souls-y aesthetic, where it is a gross tree, but it's still a tree. It still looks like a tree, and then you see the gross parts of it, and then it makes you think like, oh, that's really gross. It's kind of more gross when it's real, you know?
Sure. I think like I 100% agree with what you're saying. Great observation. It's sort of like it looks natural, but but also it's not, right? Like,
Right.
And this is a case where I would say that to me, the person who painted this sort of oftentimes we get finished painting a model and we're like, oh my gosh, or a friend of ours, and we're like, hey, that person did a really good job. They're an insane painter. They're really good, and they are. But let's not forget, somebody sculpts these things, right? Right. And I think sometimes you let the sculpt do the work. And this is how I view that, right? The statement that the painter is making is they just did a good job painting it, and they kept it. I don't know. I think to my imagination, I feel like they painted this kind of like you're saying, just like a funky looking tree.
Yeah.
Right?
True to form.
Yeah, like they didn't lean in on like one particular color or do any kind of bizarre effects or anything like that. Which, by the way, super cool model to do those things on. Yeah, I agree with you, Bridger. This looks great. I actually want to see more pics of this.
There were several.
Yeah.
So you can
Yeah, I'll have to go
take a look
go
after
back
the
and
show.
look.
And then here we have, it's another contribution from me. So this was Saturday.
Oh, gosh.
It's all about me, Zach. This show is really just
I know.
a monument to my vanity.
Here, I like how we've gone back too.
Yeah, so this is what I assembled over the course of Saturday's game.
And for a spoiler alert of what this turns into, go back in time.
No, this is not. We've painted none of these.
Oh, we haven't. But for a spoiler alert of exactly how these are going to look, go back in time.
Go back in time, yeah. So this is a character, and then we have 10 Volkite Berserkers with picks. We have 10 Auric Hearthguard, and then we have 10 Hearthguard Berserkers with the flail thing. It's a lot. It was a lot of work.
We're not messing around with this army. We're just like, let's just do it all.
Let's just do it all. And then
if we
be
just
done.
do it all, like as a streaming channel, we're like, if we just do all of this,
Just do it.
then we maybe don't have to worry about this army for like 3 years.
Maybe even a
40.
decade, Zach.
Well, they're gonna listen. They're gonna get little baby Magnadroths one day that they ride around on.
They have to, right?
I want them to get cave bats, giant cave bats.
No, that doesn't fit their aesthetic. No, maybe fire bats.
Yeah, cave fire bats. Of course, they're gonna be fire
That
bats.
could be pretty cool.
Yeah,
That'd be pretty cool.
you're back on board.
Yeah,
You're on board with
I'm on
fire
board.
bats. Okay.
If the fire bats,
Fire
probably
bats.
nobody on it. Oh,
What?
If they have
No.
a saddle. If they have a saddle, you can ride a fire
They've
bat.
got a
All right, I'm on board.
yeah, definitely
Full
fire.
send. Let's
Yeah.
do it. Okay.
All right.
So we have here, I believe this is a knob on Smash the Squig. I've been beaten up by these several times, but I still can't. All these orc things, I can't really keep them straight. I believe this is a knob on Smash the Squig. And I really like the color palette. I like the blue squig. I think squigs should be funky colors more often
Agree.
because they're sort of, an expression of the insanity of orcs. Like they're the wacky, comedic, comical side of orcs that GW occasionally tries to pretend doesn't exist, and then occasionally just doubles down on.
Agree. And also, I think the more recent orc lines, I think GW has been doing some interesting stuff with orcs where they're kind of trying to give them like this outside identity away from what we traditionally think of as an orc, like from Tolkien or whatever. And they're turning them into, they're giving them weird things like squigs and I mean, they've always had squigs, right? But they've kind of changed the squig, for, like you said, from being this cute thing to kind of being this scary, like bulldog type like mount.
Right.
I'm into it. This paint job is awesome. I agree with you. I love the color. I blue and green are like such a cool combo, but also can be like kind of meh, because you know they're near. They share some DNA. But this looks great. It's like the blue is more, yeah, like the vividness of the blue and the green's like a little more muted. Like I think if they did more of like a moot green.
The irony
Orc,
there
yeah, muted.
muted moot green.
Moot green, yeah. I think if the orc was brighter, I wouldn't like it as much. I kind of like that the orc is actually well lit, so to say, but also a muted color. I like this. Good pick, Bridger.
Yeah, I try. And then we have here, this is one of the Horus Heresy Primarchs. This is Horus.
Oh, and
from 30K.
from 30K, right?
Pretty dope.
And this is what color paint is this? They were white when they were
Luna Wolves? Were Luna Wolves white?
Luna Wolves
so.
were white.
But Sons of Horus, I
Are Sons of Horus initially white?
think were white. They went through a lot of color changes because they really lacked an identity.
Bryce is in chat. He'll know. Yeah, I know that, and they ended up like the green color.
Sons of Horus were green.
Oh, it's the main like.
Oh, wait.
Is it the
One of them was white.
Justicarians or something? Yeah.
The Luna Wolves were white.
The Luna Wolves are white. Okay.
Wow, we just look like complete idiots up here.
Awful.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, we don't even
Truly.
know the color scheme of the Luna Wolves.
Well, we've been talking about this army randomly a few times recently. I'm not sure why it's come up so much recently, and we were saying that in some ways their identity is almost tied up with this lack of identity, right?
Who, the Luna Wolves?
I think so. I interpret them that way. Their identity is sort of part of what makes them who they are. I think is almost like a lack of identity.
I think the reason you say that is that GW tried to make both Ultramarines and Sons of Horus or Luna Wolves too good at everything. That their identifying characteristic was that they're just good at everything.
They're like or they're not good at anything particularly. Like yes, you're correct. Like they always say, oh no, they're good at shock assault. And you're like, I don't know. They use drop pods. They all use drop pods.
Right, exactly. The thing they're good at is like all the things the Space Marines do.
Yeah, well, Ultramarines, at least in the Horus Heresy, have this not necessarily gameplay wise, but they have like this statesman, nation building kind of component to them.
Sure. Yeah, that was interesting.
Luna Wolves have like this. Hey, we'll send the Luna Wolves in. Like good at like thing needs to get done. Luna Wolves probably can do it.
Right.
That's like their thing. And I guess it's almost like to me, that's sort of what I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying lack of identity in a bad way. I'm saying I think it's kind of actually like baked into some of the problems that Horus had and that happened. It's like they just go do things and like they don't necessarily, like, I understand the Space Wolves have that problem too, of not being appreciated for what they do. But the Luna Wolves kind of, I don't know, they were like on a wild ride for the whole Heresy. Right, like Loken, and like that's really what we're following in the opening trilogy is the wild ride of the Luna Wolves.
Yeah, I mean they kind of got into some hot water immediately. Mm-hmm. Like I think they were. You portray them as dull, but in no way in the books are they dull because they're always nefarious and doing
dull. I don't know that.
Wrong.
Do I portray them as dull?
Luna Wolves?
Yeah.
Yes. In fact, you overtly call them boring.
Look, I might have, but I don't know that I remember that. I know I said that I'm Imperial Fists.
Well, they're just good at standing.
They're good at standing. Okay,
Well,
yeah.
Anyway, back to this picture.
This looks amazing. And I do stand by the way, for what it's worth, I do stand by that I think they have a confused identity. This model, however, not a confused identity. The Luna Wolves paint scheme with the white, super cool.
And the red eyes, very striking. The yellow pupil, very well done. It looks great. It's very clean.
Yeah, I'm not sure I've seen this model in person.
Yeah, not many of the people in our circle actively play Horus Heresy.
I mean, it was me for a while, right? And I went to something in 2018 called Heresy Camp in Corpus Christi, Texas.
Wow.
And we went there and we played Heresy with
Different
people,
time, huh?
People all weekend long, or like it was like a long weekend. And there I saw a lot of cool models. But overall, even our play group in the Bay Area, we weren't really using the Primarchs a lot because they tended to not be super balanced.
Right. They kind of broke the game.
And oftentimes in really bad ways.
Yeah.
Conrad Kurz was cool because he was on jump packs, so could actually like get and do things. But he wasn't too broken. He was like about the only one I think feel like we kind of tolerated on a regular basis.
Right. I remember Magnus had some serious problems.
Magnus was bonkers. I did play a game in Heresy Camp where I got to control somebody else's Magnus model, and he was silly.
For what reason were you controlling somebody
We
else's
did
Magnus?
we did like a Prospero thing, and we all kind of took control of Magnus. But like you know how those like crazy like 4-4 games go.
So in this game of Prospero, you got to control Magnus, but then you had to take no game actions because Magnus was crying in a tower?
No, Magnus.
Like
he does eventually come down and help.
Well, it's a little late when the war is already over when he...
Yeah.
That's kind of the point of the story.
I know. But anyway, in the game he was there in a one-on-one battle with, he starts like, there's this mission that from the book, book 7, Inferno, and you do like a battle, him and Russ are just like in a fight the whole game.
Right, and Russ breaks his back.
And that's not what happened in our game, but...
Well, canonically,
Yeah.
Magnus gets his spine snapped on Russ's knee. Yeah. Good story. Horus Heresy, huh? Really family friendly.
Yeah.
All right, and then I think we had one more. We did have one.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we have actually a couple more. We have a lot of these. We have this cool piranha.
Yeah.
The colors here really jumped out at me, at least. I like the choice of the blue contrasting with the orange.
Me too. And it's good. And the person who painted this said it was a speed paint for them.
Oh wow!
Remember? I think we saw that.
This is very well done for a speed paint.
It's a really nice, great, quick job.
And the choice of colors, I think, goes a long way. The cool blue and the really warm orange. It's a good contrast.
That's a major component of speed painting. I mean, the person, there's a guy called like the speed painter, and I followed some of his steps to do the Fire Slayers, and he talks a lot about that. He says like, look, you need to, if you're going to take these craft-based shortcuts, craft being the technical skill involved in creation of art, then you do need to front load your process and at least make sure your process is interesting. And color palette selection is part of that, right? If you tell me you speed painted Tau and they're like, I don't know, just picking 2 random colors, gray and yellow Tau, then I would be like, that's not, you need to take your time with gray and yellow Tau, you know?
Right. But yeah, very, very cool piranha. And then up next, we have some gorgeous Lamenters from Chapter Master Alvara.
Yeah.
Oof.
Whenever this fan posts in the Discord, I almost always find that we want to feature his stuff on fan.
I can only
Fancy.
dream of being able to paint checkered Space Marines like this.
Yeah, very nice job. This person is this whole Howling Griffin's army. And I always say this every time we feature work. My favorite part is, like, of course, the checker pattern, but I actually really love the bases that they're doing.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not just that, like, I love them. It's such a bold choice. Like, they're kind of purple, right?
It's very purple.
It's like, hey, I have a red and yellow army. I don't think I would think to do a purple base on a red and yellow
It's like
army.
a 70s blacklight poster as a base.
Yeah, and I'm into it.
That's super cool.
Yeah, it is a very beautiful army.
God, wow.
There's a lot. They've done a lot, and we haven't always kept up with it, but it's a beautiful army.
I normally think of Space Marines as like the Intercessor model doesn't scream out as like all that interesting, or it's kind of intentionally
Well, it's cool, but
bland.
But
this just like it makes it pop in such a cool way. Like I've never wanted Space Marines more than looking at this army.
It's a great paint scheme. Yeah.
And I think that's it. I think we're gonna wrap back around. Yep, there we go. So that was community stuff.
Yeah, lots of fun stuff.
So what are you working on over there? You've been toiling away for
I have.
like 20 minutes.
I have. I'll show peeps where I'm at because we're kind of just doing some cleanup. We've got a few steps left to do, but I will show you guys where I'm at here. So the Rangers have most of their color blocked out now. And actually I forgot to paint this thing, so I had to paint that thing. That'll be quick. After that, there's not a ton left. I'm going to do some edge highlighting. That's going to be one of my last steps. I have to do eyes. And honestly, that's pretty close to it. There's some shading I might do where cloaks connect, like here on her, where her cloak kind of like goes into, I'll point this area out to you guys, like down here where her cloak kind of goes into like the folds of her arm, the way she's holding her arm across like that. So I might do a little bit of shading kind of just around the edges here. Like I said, I need to do eyes, which are always fun. Not quite the same as doing scary, hard to do human open eyes. But that's it. So let's knock it out here. Oh, we're doing pretty good on time.
Yeah, this is a fun show. I like doing these hobby shows. Wish I had more time for things like this.
More time for hobby shows?
More time for everything, Zach.
Yeah.
Wish I just had more time.
Yeah. What are you going to do?
I don't know. Go home and play Elden Ring, I guess.
That's a great way to waste time.
No, Zach. You need mental health time, for sure. Guaranteed, 100%.
You know what?
It's not even a question.
Bridger, do you feel like going to the gym helps you recharge? Or not really? Is that kind of like that's very purposeful stress kind of a thing?
Well, it's not stressful. It's just, it's kind of like meals. Like for me, I know a lot of people derive a lot of pleasure from meals. That tends not to be the case for me. It's just like another thing it's a box to check off 3 times a day.
Okay.
It's like it's a pleasant box to check off, but it's still just a box to check off. And the gym is another one of those boxes to check off where like it definitely improves my overall health and energy, but it's not a mentally invigorating process, you know? I don't get amped to go to the gym.
Okay.
But I do get amped to play Elden Ring. It's a great game.
Yeah, I guess I've never been able to... Honestly, weirdly for me, what kind of recharges me mentally is at home often is cooking. And also, honestly, working on minis.
Wow.
So
then you're in the right field, Zach.
Yeah. So it kind of works out. But I don't know. Video games, I don't know. I have a hard time. I guess I have a hard time with like I'm done and there's nothing to show.
That's not
like that's what sleep is.
Necessarily a healthy perspective.
No.
Not everything in life needs to be working towards some finish line, you know?
I guess that's true. Life lessons with Bridger.
Like, what do you think about meditating, Zach? You have nothing to show for at the end of meditating.
No, I guess not. But I like meditating because it's kind of what you're describing, but condensed down into like 15 minutes of doing that. Which, look, to be honest with you, meditating is really like the equivalent of eating like a protein bar for food.
Right. It's just another box to check off.
It's
in some ways.
It's pretty much taking your mental like chill out health and just turning it into a box to check off. I guess you're right. Never thought about that way.
Yeah, mental health. Always got to take care of yourself. I learned that in grad school. That if I have this tendency to jam-pack, fill my schedule with more obligations than I can really, do. And I learned in grad school, still gotta, even when you're behind on everything, gotta take time for yourself. It's important.
I see. Okay, let's paint this. I think somebody in chat, Gloomfield. Yeah, let's paint the Gloomfield. Normally I would build up with an airbrush. Yeah, I'm gonna regret it if I don't.
Thought that was a satellite dish for stealing cable.
Yeah, the satellite, the cable.
It's like
dish.
a weird name for that. Gloomfield?
Gloomfield, yeah. Exciting.
Oh, you're making it red.
Yeah, but it's gonna be the same color as the armor. I'm gonna do a little masking here with my thumb on his hand.
This is high stakes thumb masking, Zach.
This is high stakes thumb masking. I'm gonna go like this so you guys can see, and I also want to make sure I don't get any on the cloak. which is not happening.
Wow. Absolute madman. Just going for it.
Yeah, I can clean up. I can clean up the glove. I don't really want to clean up the cloak. So
This man knows his tools.
there we go. Okay.
Oh, the camera does not like that. There we go.
Yeah, Gloomfield. We caught up on super chats?
Yeah,
Oh,
caught
fun.
on.
Okay, good. There's like a crazy amount.
There was, you know, sometimes you just gotta invite the right guests, you know? That's like a Conan thing.
You just got to get through your super chats. I know. I love it. I've been thinking about Wargamer guy Ryan as we've been doing the Fire Slayers army. I hope Bridger can do him proud.
I'll try.
I'm actually going to a Sigmar RTT Sunday, which I'm excited about. I'm saying it now here on stream so I don't cancel.
We've got to get somebody who lives in the Bay Area,
Yeah.
somebody closer than Santa Rosa, host some Sigmar events so Zach doesn't have to drive so far.
I mean, it is what it is.
We've been noodling on this, on how to get Zach to not waste 4 hours of his life to play at an event.
I mean, I like
it's just too
driving,
far,
so
isn't it?
I'm okay. Get to go somewhere different.
It's the same place every time. What do you mean?
No, this time's different. It's normally at this place, Mad Alpaca,
Uh-huh.
which is in Fairfield.
Sure.
But this one is in Santa Rosa, which is even further.
Right, yeah. That's kind of the problem. I would go with you if it was like somewhere in the Bay.
It is, and it is.
No.
I think that's still Bay Area.
No. That's not, no. That's NorCal.
Santa Rosa? Mm-hmm. Santa Rosa's not Bay Area.
The majority of the way to Reading.
It is not the majority of the way to Reading.
It's too far.
Oh my God.
Gotta draw the line somewhere.
Well, I mean, like, I like how I would go if it was less far. Listen, I'm not gonna hold you to going or try to get you to go.
No, I would like.
I
I'm
like how if it was
interested.
less far, you'd go. What makes you draw the line is that also on this Sunday you need to try. Like, this is what I'm doing on this Sunday. I guess that's just like how I think of it, right? I'm gonna get up. I'm gonna go to this thing. By the time I get home, Meg's probably gonna be in bed, so I'm not gonna get to see her.
But that doesn't have to be the case, Zach.
I see. Your point is.
You could get home at a reasonable,
You could-
maybe like a 10 o'clock.
Yeah, and like, that is when I'll get home probably.
No, the event is going to end at 9:30,
No.
and then you have a 2.5 hour drive home.
You know what I will say about events, RTTs? Mm-hmm. Oh man, this is a great question for this crowd, RTTs, folks. There's always this awkward things that happens at RTTs. I'm one of the people, I think there are two people who come down on, let's have lunch at an RTT.
Okay.
There's people like me who are like, nope. Like, we have granola bars.
You're going to go the whole day without eating lunch?
No, I'm going to eat like a granola bar. I'm going to eat like
Zach,
grapes.
that's not lunch. You need to conserve you need energy for your...
So after, okay, all right. So
Brain food.
I see where everybody is. I see where Bridger's at on this. So do you want your lunch in between the first and second round or the second and third round?
First and second round.
Like, I just got
Zach,
there.
How is this... What? How are any of these questions?
So
There's a reason there's a lunch break at every event, and there's a reason it's between round 1 and 2.
This one event we go to, people are like, hey, do we need a lunch break? And I'm like, no, I love this. Like, yes, no lunch break. Let's just go. Like, let's get into the next round so I can get home since I'm driving up to the Arctic Circle to play so I can get home at a reasonable time.
Wait, Zach, hold on. Let me get this straight. You're driving 4 hours round trip to go to an event where all you really want is to go home?
I want to play 3 games of Sigmar. I want to meet 3 cool people, or play people I know and don't get to see too much, and hang out. What I don't want to do is like
Eat lunch with these people?
like go through a strip mall looking for L&L Hawaiian barbecue and like shove that in my face and then lunch is like, then you have like 25. Okay, next round 25 minutes. Like, what? Yeah, bring a kale salad. That's what I should do.
No, Zach, you just don't play until the end of the round. You finish your game in a reasonable amount of time.
Well, here's why this is an issue in Sigmar is because Sigmar 3rd edition now goes quite quick. and people like TOs and stuff are kind of learning this. And so, like, it's really not that hard to have a Sigmar 3-round Sigmar event start at 10 in the morning and be over by 5. That's highly. Oh yeah, no, that's very doable. Yes, it's very doable, and we did it in Redwood City. Sony did it. We had one that, and that's why I always think this way now, because it happened once.
That's mind-boggling.
Okay, I'm sorry.
5 p.m.
In between 5 and 6. In between 5 and 6.
Even still, an 8-hour 3-round event is just
like a good,
wild.
I mean, Ragai, back me up here, or tell me how off I am. What do you think? Like a good game, a good competitive Sigmar game, an hour 45, right? Right? Like
that sounds totally reasonable. It's just, you know, I come from the world of 40K where people don't finish in 3 hours. In fact, many people don't finish in 3 hours. So this is just, it's a bit of a culture shock to me, Zach. I hope you understand.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, let's also get rid of lunch while we're at it. And we can basically just show up at 10, which is, by the way, awesome time to show up. Like, I don't want to show up at 8:30. I don't want to get up at like 6 on. I'm already driving hours to go to these things. So like, let me get up at like 8:30. Let me like mosey on up the peninsula. I'll eat a bag of grapes on the way up. And then
Zach,
let me play my 3-hour 45-minute games. And let me drive home. Get a movie in with the missus.
I think you've become too accustomed to this long drive lifestyle. Whereas if you had an event at your local store, you could still get up at 8:30. You could have breakfast with Meg because you have that much time. You go, play round 1. You have lunch with your buds.
I just had
your
breakfast.
local spot.
I just had breakfast. Why would I have lunch now?
You have lunch with your buds at a local spot. And then you know what? You play 2 more games. You come home. You're home by 7.
Yeah, I guess at this point I'm shoveling dinner into my face, according to you.
We're probably going to hang out with your buds, get some dinner too. Invite Meg. We'd love to have her at dinner at this close, reasonable time commitment Sigmar event. Huh?
I want to keep talking about this, but before we do, let me just talk about how I did the eyes on these Rangers real quick.
Sure.
I do Averlin Sunset. It's like a marigold mustard color. It goes over the blue nicely, believe it or not. Then I use one of my favorite yellows, Phalanx. Oh my gosh. Boy, is my face red. I thought this was Phalanx yellow.
Uh-oh.
Normally I use Phalanx yellow. I am going to put a little Phalanx yellow dot. Normally I do Phalanx yellow. Then I use, I love this wash too, Cassandora yellow. Like I said, always use a wash on eyes.
That bottle is like very not yellow.
But it is.
That's orange.
And then I put a little dot of usually Phalanx yellow again. And also this time Phalanx yellow. Almost just tripped over airbrush. Okay. Thanks for switching back to that view, Bridger, so people could see me reach back and grab the paint.
Well, I didn't want them looking at an empty table.
No, this is way more interesting. Okay, what's Ryan saying? Super meta.
So you're saying,
Games can be over in less than 2 hours.
but only if everybody's kind of, on the same page.
Sean is, round 5 in a 90-minute game. You should never pity a Lumineth player, though, Sean. Right now, anyway.
Well, here we are.
Here we go.
Here we are.
Here we go. Oh, boy.
Dividing up
Here we
the
go.
Sigmar players.
Here we go. Sean will know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I feel like I can just, I don't know, kind of cruise and get it all done real quick and still hang out and still chat with people. My favorite people to chat with, listen, I will say this. I'm pretty chatty in games, even in RTT games.
That's good.
I also have a bad habit of like, oh, you should do this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I do that too.
I don't do that anymore. And I certainly don't do it if I think I might lose the game.
I don't really care. I'm just like, because I've done studio games for so long,
Right.
where like we're on the same team trying to make a good game, where we're
Right.
both kind of working both sides, being like, oh, what do you think this army should do in this situation? Okay, now it's the other person's turn. What should that army do in that situation? where I don't even consciously do it anymore. It just happens.
Yeah.
I'm just like, well, couldn't you do this? Or like, oh no, you shouldn't do that because I can do this thing.
Right, exactly. And it's nice because like I actually don't mind doing that at RTT if I can tell maybe my opponent like doesn't mind. You can usually get a read on it, or at least I think I can.
I'm just oblivious, man. I don't really.
Probably I can't. But plus, don't forget we all come from the school of Brian Pullen, and in Brian's Pullen, you pretty much deploy, and then Brian just fills you in on what's going to happen. And so you kind of get used to that. You're just like, okay, so there it is after the final, the little like last dab of flash kits, excuse me, not flash kits, of phalanx yellow kind of just brings the eyes to life a little bit.
Yeah.
It makes it look like there's like a little bit of fire kind of going on in there, a little glowy. It makes them look a little spookier maybe. You know, they are psychic folk after all. Okay, so here's what I have left to do. I'm checking time. Oh yeah, we should wrap this up soon. All I'm gonna do left on these guys, I'll show you guys, and maybe we can call it because it's well, I have some edge highlighting to do, but I'm gonna put them on their bases, and I can actually do that any time. But one of the things I'm gonna have to do on these Rangers, some of them have, as Brett likes to call them, tactical rocks. On their actually three of them, 3 of the 5 of them have part of the base, have like basing material on their person, so on the model. So I'll have to do that.
Yeah, how are you gonna blend that into your very fancy base?
Very easy. I'm actually gonna mostly paint this before I put it on the base. Oh, I'm very excited about this base right here. Oh man, this guy has it. Sorry, who's gonna? Okay.
What's going on here, Zach?
Scope Ranger. She's gonna be kind of hiding behind this rock.
Well, I don't know if hiding is the correct term.
Well,
precisely one leg is obscured.
Yeah. Well, from this view, but look at this view. You can barely see. You barely see it because she's camoed. Okay.
If you were standing behind a fire hydrant, would you describe yourself as hiding?
If the rest of my outfit matches the fire hydrant, then yes. That's how that works. You okay?
Yeah, I'm all right.
All right.
That's
how hiding works, right?
Fully expect somebody to meme Zach hiding behind a fire hydrant.
Okay, crystal or soul stone. Boom. These soul stones are so tiny that I have different ways I do soul stones depending on the size. This is a tiny soul stone. So what I do is I put down like a base coat, kind of darker silver. In this case, it was Iron Hands, but it can be lead belcher as well. I have this personal theory that there's no actual difference between lead belcher and Iron Hands steel, that they're literally the exact same color. I know that they're not. It's just this weird, I don't think I can tell the difference. So in this case, I used Iron Hand steel because I turned around and grabbed whichever one I saw first. Mm-hmm. Then what I do is I take a little tiny black dot with Abaddon black or some kind of very true black, and I put it up in the top left, like that, to give it a little bit of depth. Now, normally it's a black dot. Okay, it's normally like, here's a soul stone, right?
Now, Zach, be careful.
There's a soul stone. There's like black up here. This is all silver, and then a little bit of white down here that I'm also painting with black. So black, silver, white, and I do 2 silvers. I do
Zach, I told you to be careful.
Why? What is happening? Why?
When you just kept painting with black. You painted all the colors in black.
Yeah, I don't want to. Actually, I've shown how I do this before, but with the small gems, when they're really tiny, I just do all silver. This black here, that's silver, okay? And then I do
You're gonna put black over black?
the black dot up top. Because I don't know, I think it just works. It's easier. You won't catch all the gradients if you do it the other way. And then I had to grab one thing, which is my Soulstone Technical, which is right here. And by the way, the blue, so like if you are painting a Asuryani army, if you're getting into a Asuryani fever because they're so cool and the book is coming out, have a plan for soul stones, please, because they make such a huge difference, especially on vehicles. Like you start painting all these flat, wide open areas, and then you crank out a soul stone, and you're like, oh yeah, that was like perfect. And they're maybe the coolest way to get a contrasting color in. What do you think, Bridger?
They're not. They're not. Oh, you meant, sorry. I thought you meant contrast paint. I was
No, like
those predate contrast.
Contrasting color or just a different color. You know, like you're using. Look at this.
It's a little pop, yeah. It's like a little.
Yeah, something kind of just like a pop of color or something else.
It's kind of like the jazz of
The
the model.
ooh,
It spices it up.
Oh, I'm not sure I understand that analogy.
It's, you know, it's like
The jazz of.
pachow. You know, it's like it's really jumping out at you.
Oh, interesting.
You wouldn't get it, Zach.
That's interesting.
It's okay. You
Okay.
wouldn't get it.
I like jazz. Just not sure if I've heard it used this way before.
Well, we do have another super chat. Thanks, Get Kraken. Boys, what's your personal opinion of the new Asuryani Codex? How do you think they're going to do into Talon Custodes?
What do you think, Bridger?
Well, I have some opinions. However, I have not actually played with the new Eldar, so
Or
my
against
opinions
them?
should
Yeah.
really be kept with a grain of salt.
We do like to say that here. And
What?
It's important. No, it's. I'm glad you said that because like we haven't, I haven't played them yet or played against them yet.
Right, but just looking at the stratagems, looking at the data sheets, looking at the basic army rules, they seem amazing against Custodes. Fire Dragons can auto-wound, which ignores all of the reroll turn-off, it ignores transhuman. It'll just pick up a unit of whatever Custodes you're pointing at. So Fire Dragons, amazing against Custodes. Crimson Hunters, I'm on the Crimson Hunter train.
You really are.
They have what equates to 4 Dark Lances that hit on 2s and reroll wounds against vehicles. Or sorry, against fly, which the bikes do fly. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, but Bridger, they'll turn off your rerolls and they'll transhuman. That's actually what makes Crimson Hunters so interesting, is they fly behind the enemy army, there's nowhere to hide, and you shoot something else. And they either use their strats or they don't. If they don't use their strats, you just got free shooting in. If they do use their strats, Crimson Hunters pick up a whole squad of bikes. Each. Trivially. Super easy. So it's like it's kind of a lose-lose for the Custodes player. No matter what you do, the Crimson Hunters are going to punish you real hard. So Fire Dragons, Crimson Hunters, even I think Banshees, Scorpions, they're not ideal. They're not the perfect tool to fight Custodes, but they're not bad. Dire Avengers, amazing. Guardians, amazing. They're just, Eldar are so point efficient.
Yep. Yep.
It's hard for Custodes to keep up the trading game
Yep.
against an army that just has so much output on just its casual units.
Tomorrow, get cracking. Check out our game. John and I are playing. I think he's playing Grey Knights. Is that right, Bridger? Mm-hmm. Grey Knights. I'm playing my Simhan. I made up a list today, and I mentioned this earlier in the stream. I think I mentioned this. I just had too many units. I was like, cool. I made up like everything I want. I've used a lot of my Simhan collection, which is less than a year old, by the way. And I did add a ton to it, but I don't have. I probably only have about 3,500 points or something like that previously. Mm-hmm. I felt like I used so much of it. And then I looked down at my list and like added it all up, and it was like 1475 or something like that. And I was like, oh, wow, I have, oh no, it was like 1625, right? I was like, oh, I have 375 points left. Like that's a lot of points. Like when you've like, okay, here are my objective grabbers, here's my infiltrators, everything you need for Knockmoon. Here's who's going to do some damage for me. Here's melee. Here's shooting. Here's deep strikers. Cool, all done. Here's a transport even. 2 transports. And I'm like, oh, I still have 325 points or whatever it was left.
Right.
So then when you're doing that, that's a problem, right? And look, I'm not saying I built an efficient army right off the bat, but for me to have 325 points left, it's like, whoa, what am I supposed to do with this? Like everything else now is just bonus. Like, how do I really want my opponent to suffer? Like in what capacity do I want to go, oh, 325 points to now also be even shootier or like more Shining Spears, like whatever, right? It's crazy. How are they going to go in the Tau? John has some thoughts on that. Get cracking. He will probably share some of those thoughts tomorrow because he's played a few games with Tau now, again with them.
He said that's an easy matchup for him.
Did he use the term easy? I know.
Certainly, of the two, he thinks that's the easier matchup, which is crazy to me. But his reasoning was Eldar always shoot first.
He always gets, because of their movement, right?
Well, they have deep stripe shenanigans, they have movement. Like the fact that Tau can shoot out of line of sight is not super relevant when Eldar can be around every corner.
Eldar can, again, like we talked about.
Yeah. You know,
Tau have, as a Tau player first, and then later an Asuryani player, and playing Brett a lot, playing against Brett's Tau. During COVID, Brett and I had like a little pod, and we just played each other. And in fact, like for a while, we didn't see anyone else other than each other and each other's spouses. So we played each other a lot. I played my Simon against his Tau, and it was always sort of a tough matchup for him. And even for me, when I used to play more Tau and did not have a Asuryani army, it's tough. Always get cracking because it's this one army that you feel like you're in a shootout with. Normally, if I'm in a shootout with an army, I'm like, this is a good thing for me.
Right.
They want to shoot it. They want to shoot. Let's shoot. Right.
Yeah.
But with Eldar, you're in a shootout with them, and then you get closer to them, and then they charge you and kill you. Right, and you're like, what was I supposed to do?
Yeah.
So they've always been a tough matchup for me. And then one thing I think, like at least my Tau, the Dao Yith Tau I've been running, one thing they're good at is just playing the game, playing Knockmoon, being sneaky.
Right.
I love my guys disappearing off the board, coming back. And Eldar also do this well. So I don't know.
Yeah, Eldar they're cheap enough that they can do everything, and their codex supports doing everything, which is a recipe for a really strong army.
For context there, people, I would say like Genestealer cults play the game well.
Right.
They play Knockmoon well, but they don't have the output or the durability of either of these two armies, especially Tau when it comes to durability. I do think that's probably Tau's strength over Drukhari. Over Craft World is the durability.
Yeah.
But that doesn't always translate into a win, right? My army's more durable than yours. Okay, who's going to win,
Right, the classic Drukhari counter to that is, well, I'm just
cool.
Like, you're more durable. Sure, I'll throw away my cheap garbage for your expensive thing. Great, your durability meant nothing.
Exactly. Okay, guys, so here's what I did. I went ahead and completed my last couple steps on one Ranger so I can show her to you. On the other four, I have to do edge highlighting. Actually, that's just about it. Edge highlighting and soul stones on the other four. And I have to finish the gloom ball. What's it called? Gloom stick. On the one. The gloom satellite.
I'm just gonna let you keep going.
And here she is. Here's my new Ranger.
Looks gorgeous.
I like this Ranger. I love the idea that like Eldar, the scope is like magnetized, strongly magnetized or whatever, and just like she's just able to grab it and like pull it off real easily and use it as like a, binocular.
I like the idea that 20,000 years in the future, they need scopes. Their helmets don't just do it for them.
Oh, I'm deeply bummed now that you point that out because it's a great point.
20,000 years in the future, these wizards need a scope on their weapon that they can't.
You know what? Here's what I'll say. You know this, that sometimes hardware is good.
Sure.
Sometimes like you don't want your one thing doing everything.
Yeah, you don't want your helmet doing the one thing it's supposed to do, right?
Like I don't want to be like in the middle of a 41st Millennium space battle,
Right.
And I've got like my Ranger long rifle, and I'm like trying to keep a termagant from biting me in my face, and
Right.
suddenly my goggles zoom in. You know what I mean? Like, oh, that's the last thing I need right now. We've all been there.
We do have one more super chat before we close out, Zach.
Okay, Blake. Yes, good to hear from Blake.
Thanks, Blake. Debating getting an AOS army. I'm interested in Tzeentch, Skaven, and Lizardmen. Is there a way to make any of these viable lower model count army?
Not Skaven, as far as I know.
Yeah, there's really no... Well, you could go all rat ogres and artillery, but I don't think it's the best way to play it.
Listen, Blake, I'll tell you. I'm going to be honest with you. These three are a huge challenge in that regard. All three of them.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Lizardmen. Of these three you've listed, I think Lizardmen are the coolest. Right now, you could do Lizardmen if you did
Saurus Warriors. Yeah.
Saurus Warriors instead of Skinks. And let's say even, like, because here's the thing, Skinks are really good. They're one of the best units in the game. And the Lizardmen army is a really good army. I think it's, of these three that you've listed, it's, you know, Bridger, we were talking about this term. It feels like the most, I think, I don't know if I was using the term classic AOS army or well-rounded, but it's one of these armies where you get like your few blocks of troops, you get your couple blocks of special troops, you get your couple monsters, you maybe get a shooty thing, and they're good at it. And this army also buffs itself like crazy. I think what you could do, Blake, with Lizardmen, is you could start with Saurus Warriors and Saurus Guardians, and mostly do Saurus. They're a little more elite. And maybe start with like 2 units of 10 skinks or 1 unit of 20. Ultimately, you could ease into going skink heavy. This is also, for what it's worth, this is a book right now that's very good. And at the same time, no sense of when its book could come out, its new book, but we do know an unnamed order book is coming out in the fall. So it could be that book. And we don't know because they've already shown that they're going to update good books. They're doing Daughters in a couple months. Daughters doesn't actually need a book. Right now, I'm telling you this, Blake, because right now, okay, what's the easiest to airbrush? Let's chat that as well.
Probably Tzeentch.
Yeah, well, all of them?
You could do a Tzeentch army that is almost entirely airbrushed.
You could. I would agree. I would agree with that statement. But Blake, real quick, just to finish, what I'm saying is, Lizardmen could be fun right now without skinks, and then when the book comes out, maybe not using skinks is good. Right now, like if you wanted to like win games in an RTT every now and then, and you had no skinks in the Lizardmen army, probably be kind of tough. Although I don't know, they're good. Lowest model count, I think you can make Lizardmen work. I don't think the other two will work as well.
They're not ideal.
They're not ideal.
There are weird skew Tzeentch lists that just have big monsters, but they're not good.
Easiest to airbrush, I do agree with Bridger. Purely airbrushing, I think Tzeentch, and I agree. Like Tzeentch is an army along there with like Night Haunts, Fire Slayers now apparently, where you can only airbrush them. But also, also any of these. Our friend Bryce, who's in chat, just did a Skaven army. He doesn't airbrush a lot. He does airbrush, but he also brushworks a lot. Yeah, Thunder Lizards. Pizza's right. Look into Thunder Lizards for Lizardmen, or Seraphon. Sorry. And Bryce is saying Skaven, not an airbrush army. You could do base coats. I've done base coats with fur, but ultimately you probably need to go in there and do brushwork on fur. It's a furry army, right? Oh, well, that's good, Blake. Then you'll have fun. I would say my honestly, Blake, ultimately what I would tell you, I don't know, Bridger, how you feel about this. You're interested in 3 of them, but like if you sat and you thought about it, which one are you really interested in? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's kind of an important question.
That's kind of what that's the approach I would make. And maybe that's not how you are, Blake. Maybe you're like, oh, I think all 3 are equally cool. Then the answer is still Seraphon, because they are actually the coolest of those 3.
It's also worth noting how much of a commitment, like Skaven is a commitment. And if you put in all the work to make a Skaven army, you play it and you hate it, that's gonna suck.
Seraphon is an army that, Bridger's right, Seraphon is an army that I think some of the most beautiful armies I've ever seen fully painted are Seraphon. But I've also seen fine painted Seraphon armies. I'm like, cool, that looks good, you know. But you can make a Seraphon army truly a beautiful thing. And they have the centerpieces for Croak, new Croak model.
Yeah, he's cool.
So good, yeah. Cool.
Well, anyway, yeah. That's, I mean, have fun, Blake.
Yeah, have fun, Blake, and let us know because I love Sigmar. Bridger likes Sigmar.
I do like me some Sigmar.
So we want to know, yeah. Yeah, the Lizardman Bretonian box, the weirdest box. Like, I don't know why I continue to play the game after that was the box set I got. And my parents must have been really weirded out by seeing like these British knights in like on the front of the box. Like, this is what my kid wants for Christmas. There's like these British knights clashing into these lizard men. And then when like fast forward to AOS and GW's like, what if these armies might not belong in the new world?
I don't know. I think Bretonia, it just wasn't copyrightable, but like, it was cool. Everybody wants an army that's all cavalry again.
That's my army.
Everybody loved Bretonia.
5 ogres riding giant.
No, Zach, that's not. No.
You mean horse cavalry?
Just like, because your army's hyper elite, and Bretonia wasn't necessarily hyper elite. You could have a bunch of like poop knights.
Poop knights.
Well, quite literally.
Literal poop knights. Is this what we're ending on? Is this what we're gonna talk? We're gonna talk about this. We're gonna talk about what you mean by poop knights, and then we're gonna end the stream.
That's okay, Zach. We could probably just end it.
Okay. Well, I don't know that we can now. I know fans want to know. I know I do.
Because Bretonians were medieval Europe, right? It was like the peasants. You had two sides of the army. You had these hyper elite knights that were decked out and awesome.
Yeah.
And then you had peasants who were like the worst models in the game. They were down there with Skaven slaves and skinks.
Right. They were worse than like the normal city guardsmen.
Right.
Now.
They were absolutely
Empire.
terrible.
Yeah.
And there were like peasant versions of everything. There were peasant bowmans. There were, I believe, peasant cavalry, and they were the poop knights.
Oh, okay. But they weren't really poop knights.
I'm not sure what you want me to say here, Zach. I recognize I've dug myself into a bit of a hole.
That's a good one to listen. You know how things work around here. You're not getting away from that for a while.
Not getting away from that.
So let's chat about what's happening here at Titan's Studio in the next few days. John and I are playing over in Tabletop Titans tomorrow. You can see these Rangers there. This one is fully finished. You'll see her 4 buddies fully finished. So I'll have a couple units of them. New Shroud Runners also in that list. There's a video came out a couple weeks ago where I painted those up. Again, if you do want like a little more of a clear, quick, concise way of how I did the camo, which is honestly very easy, guys, check out that video, the Shroud Runner video here on Hobby Titans. Next week is gonna be more Eldari, more Asuryani. I'm pretty sure we'll have Kat in the studio, and also keep an eye out in this week coming up next week for our Fire Slayers video where we talk about the Fire Slayers. And when are we playing Fire Slayers, Bridger? Are we talking about that?
I believe it's next Monday.
I believe it is what some people would call next Monday, and what other people would say is this upcoming Monday.
It's both.
It is both.
It's both the Monday of the next week.
Yes.
It is the next Monday that occurs.
Both the next Monday we all go through together will be...
It's definitely not this Monday. This Monday passed.
This Monday is over?
Yes.
Okay. This Monday is over, guys. Next Monday, Fire Slayers versus... We're not sure who they're playing against quite yet. But you can check out a little AOS here on Tabletop Titans. Bridger, do you have anything else?
No, that's it for me.
Did we do it?
I think we did it.
Guys, as we like to say around here, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and always be creating. See you guys.
Bye.